What's good? It's your boy vexyz, the lurking legend, head cook of the last arc. Y'all could just call me Vex, and joined today by a lovely, wonderful bunch of people here. The last arc, you might know them. Real quick, let's go ahead and do some intros. We've got the first mate of the last arc with us today, Den Kushi. How you doing today, brother?
Hello, yeah, super hyped for this. Like, for the ones who know, like, this is gonna get spicy. So yeah, that's enough said.
Absolutely. And we've got the musician himself, Joshua Vythor. How you doing today, bro?
Yo, what's up, everyone? I'm ready to cook.
Ready to cook. Love it. That's my job. Hey, we've also got the frontline combatant of the last arc. We've got ChillDill, formerly NoChillDill, formerly Hat D Tori, aka King D Calm. How you doing, brother?
Yo, what is up, everyone? We're here for another great live stream on the last arc. We have a very special guest today. Hope you all enjoy. Grab your snacks and drinks and get ready.
Excellent. Yeah, we cannot wait to get into it. And we want to also thank the historian of the last arc for putting this all together and getting our guest on live with us today. We've got Kube of the Red Sea. Thank you, brother.
What up, guys? I don't know, man. I'm just excited, you know. This is the type of stream that we love, you know, meeting someone new to the community that is just spitting fire for the last few months. So, you know, I'm excited.
Yeah.
Let's get
Excited is an understatement. Yeah, we've all got some wonderful things to go over with you and all of the content that you've had on our channel. A person who's been absolutely blowing up. Congratulations on 5K. Been loving seeing all your stuff and the topics that you've been, you know, going over. Cannot wait to crack open some more theories with you today. But guys, we've got Middleway 101 with us. How you doing today, bro?
I'm doing awesome, man. Can't wait to get into some things, get into the thick of things, you know. My first stream, and I'm really excited to be here.
Nice. Yeah, we've been seeing your name everywhere. I specifically have, like, I try to keep a pretty good ear to the ground and do my research, but even before all of that, I've been seeing your name in like every comment section. People are like, hey, have you seen this cool middleway theory that just came out? Like, on all of the like the bigger names, everyone's like singing your praises in the comments. So really congratulations. And yeah, I mean, if anyone had any first questions, shoot, but I mean, I could spit all day, bro.
I mean, like, I just want to straight off the bat, like, just because they're successful does not mean they're correct, right? Like, my theories will be correct. Like, that's
Oh, wow.
they're the ones that need to be correct. Like,
Oh, wow. Bruh.
no, we
out of the
we can
way.
get straight into it.
Denden's just salty because of the paw fruit take, because he thinks Frankie's gonna get it.
I think Frankie is the red herring to get it. But by the way, guys, we have to remember that there's technically two pawpaw fruits out there.
It's true. There's green blood, and that's what everyone seems to overlook.
If you guys have ever, I don't know if it was Doc Sake's green blood theory. Have you guys ever seen that?
Yeah, it was
So
Yeah.
Hidden did a big one about Frankie with green blood specifically, which is huge. But Dak was like a part of a live stream with him where they spit on it for a good minute as well. Yeah, it's
It's hidden.
yeah. I really think that green blood needs to be utilized outside of egghead. Otherwise, I don't know why bring it up. You know.
Yeah, exactly. I definitely think if Frankie does get the pawpaw fruit, it'd probably be through green blood rather than eating the actual fruit. And the possibilities are endless, to be honest. I just know that most likely to get it, and well, if you guys have ever seen my theory, would be the Sunny, but that's a whole another, you know, we can get into that if y'all want to.
But well, I'm definitely open to the idea of Frankie and the Sunny. You know, like, there seems to be some merging going on, like, and if they are to sort of merge in some way, I'm down for that to have the fruit as well. The fact that you say Frankie is a red herring breaks my heart, but I do still think the Sunny doesn't have the like characteristic like enough characteristics for it to contain the will of the Buccaneers and stuff like that. Whereas I personally feel like the ability to example, with the trait of the Buccaneers back in the day via some technology or something, and that was harnessed by the world government and turned into some pawpaw fruit or something like that, and then Kuma becomes weaponized, the ultimate irony, all that stuff. But I think Frankie, like that as a character, obviously he's really important because he's a straw hat. There's a lot there. He's very rich, so you can have that connecting to Kuma and the boat side of things connecting to the pawpaw as well, I believe, because I do think Frankie's going underwater. I think he's going to be the first devil fruit user to go underwater personally, but that's anyway, I'll shut up. Like,
no, I've seen both of the
personally.
Yeah, I've seen both of the videos, and I gotta say, like, I have pushback on both, but at the same time, like, I could see both of them coming to fruition in some form or another. And it's like, the thing is like, we've never seen an object consume a non-Zoan devil fruit, and the pawpaw, there's arguments that it could be a Zoan, but as far as we have and confirmation in the series, that it is a paramecia, and as far as we know, paramecias are not able to be put into objects. So we seeing with Frankie's, bounty poster and things like that, I think that there's a good chance that the two of them, the Frankie and the Sunny, do become like synonymous in some form or another. And he it's like Oda's always wanted to write like a Gundam, like a mecha story. I think it'd be really cool if he just turned the Sunny into like a bigger, better, like Frankie Shogun type of thing. And if Frankie technically did get it probably through Green Blood, I would assume. I don't know if he's actually going to get the actual fruit itself. And then he weaponized the Sunny as a suit. So in a sense, Frankie and the Sunny both have the powers. That's what I would think.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's an exciting idea, most of all, and I would love that. The main misconception about the Sunny eating the devil fruit is that it's not exactly the Sunny just it's not going to be an inanimate object at that point. So the theory goes that we've seen Clubberman with Mary, right?
True.
And I wonder what's the highest form of the Clubberman. And when you look at Film Red and you see them literally animate the Sunny being alive and walking around and running around, it's not exactly that the inanimate object Sunny is going to eat a paramecia devil fruit. It's the fact that the ultimate level of a Clubberman would be something like, do you remember the starfish from Fishman Island that was able to come alive?
Papagoo, yeah, of course, that's my goat.
and was able to learn how to talk. I believe the ultimate level of a Combatant is a ship's spirit ultimately coming alive and looking exactly after they did in Film Red. So it will be like a little lion, much like if you guys watch Bleach, the little lion that Ichigo had around every now and then. So it will be alive. It will be alive, and once you are alive, you can eat just about any devil fruit you want, really. So that's the biggest misconception about it. He's not exactly eating. He's not eating a Zoan fruit because he's inanimate. He becomes animate fully, and fully has a consciousness, and fully has a soul, fully has a body, and fully has a mouth. Then he eats the devil fruit, which I imagine is going to show up on Nami's Tangerine. If the big if here is if Kuma dies in this arc at all, because it might be nobody, to be honest. Which is a whole.
I mean, that would be a curveball. I've thought about maybe Oda suspends anyone getting the ability for a while. I also do agree that it's Tangerine time, but what makes me think otherwise is what you were saying. Basically, I personally think that this Clubberman stuff that you're saying, I've got a video coming out tomorrow, I think, and it talks a bit about this, or quite a lot. I do think there is something going on there that has to be satisfied. I believe it's reflected in Pluton as well. I imagine Frankie's ancestors were the ones to make the first ever cyborg, and that cyborg will be Pluton. It'll be like some shit combined with a soul, like a Clubberman, and that is reflected then in the Sunny, which gives us a pseudo Pluton. So we've got the original and then the pseudo, just like we have Uranus and the Mother Flame, and yeah, and personally, I don't think Shirahoshi is actually Poseidon, but I think she's a pseudo Poseidon. So yeah, I do expect us to be getting some purple action, hopefully.
I just realized something. You guys were talking about, the Sunny, the Merrick, the Clubberman. The last time when Frankie gave Usopp the information of what it was when he saw in Skypiea, the Clubberman, there was a Buster call as well. Like I found very interesting that we're in the same type of situation.
Yeah,
Yes,
I just
exactly.
want to
Completely.
real quick. I want to address a few things in the chat. First of all, we got Mr. Bushido, who has been a member for 3 months. Said, if not Frankie, then Carrot for Pawpaw, and never Vivi. That's hilarious. I think we got a bit of agenda piece, in the comment section here. But we've also got some people talking about Klabautermon. And I wanted to remind people, I put it in the chat as well, but Klabautermon are not just spawned for ships that are near the end of their journey. They're also spawned for well-loved ships, like ships that have had tons of love from their crew. So I think that's interesting. And I think it's also really funny if Frankie and the Sunny do become like basically like a singular synonymous entity, kind of like how I was saying earlier, is if like the Klabautermon is like Frankie's punch ghost. like a JoJo's like a stand or something like that. That'd be so funny. But no, I'm loving it. Yeah, I'm loving it. This is such an interesting topic because, like I said, I've seen both of y'all's theories. Chat, if you guys haven't checked it out, make sure you check out the Frankie Pawpaw video over on Den Kushi, link in the description to his channel. And then also make sure you check out on Middleway's channel his the Sunny gets the Pawpaw theory. Super great connections to be made on both sides.
Which you've probably already seen.
Yeah, you probably.
I've seen it reposted like 1,000 times. It's such a banger. Like,
Man,
yeah, I'm rooting for both of you. Like, I'm on both sides of the fence. You know, like.
I would love.
at least we're on.
Why
Yeah.
Why not them both have the dark fruit? That would be best.
Yeah.
And there's something also that we make all those connections. You guys make a connection with the Sunny and the Frankie, and I just realized both the Sunny and Frankie joined the Straw Hats on the same day. When Sunny was made, that was the day Frankie was joined the Straw Hats.
Yeah.
On the same day, they joined on the same day, technically.
Yeah. I've got something I do want to actually ask. And it's probably most prevalent to Kube and Middleweight. Like, I've spoken before about how Frankie with the clothing machine he chose futuristic and not Hawaiian. And just gradually, as we've gone on, his outfits have become more like cyber. He's become more of a machine, and now he chooses the futuristic over the Hawaiian, and he becomes completely cyborg, right? And the reason why I mentioned Kube is because Kube, we always talk about eyes and looking and vision and soul through the eyes and stuff. In this, when he had his costume change, his eyes were covered, right, with the like Star Trek sort of band, and I always just thought that's kind of like, oh yeah, like that's Oda showing it. But I've got a question. It's a little tricky, but in the last chapter, Frankie lifted that up and looked out of it. Do you think there's any meaning to that at all? Like, why did Oda have a panel where like Frankie like lifts it up and just like looks in front of him? I'm not sure if any of you actually know the panel I'm talking about, but it was in the most recent
chapter.
Yeah, it's really weird. Like, it's strange.
So it's kind of like a visor, and right as the attack's coming at him, his visor lifts up to show his eyes.
I see.
Thank you. Yeah,
I see. Speaking of that panel, actually, do you guys think that? So while Kizaru is kicking Frankie, and he looks directly at Kizaru, do you think that's an observation hockey or perception moment because Kizaru is so fast, or do you guys think that was just it has nothing to do with anything?
I think that's just the way he would have paneled it. Like when you're paneling certain scenes and things like that, you just want to get Frankie's good side, something like that. Like I don't know. Okay. I don't know if there's significance to it, but that would be interesting. I want Frankie to have hockey, but we just haven't seen anything like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, Kizaru is literally spotlight. You cannot see him.
Yes.
You cannot.
Yeah, it's true.
But on to answer first to the question, and I always bring it up when everything with shades, visual, the eyes. I always bring up the first person who showed betraying the side he was on, and that's Captain Kuro from Sir Village. And before he killed Mary, he takes the glasses he gets, and he says, "It's time to release the beast within, looking at the full moon. Sometimes a certain beast has to be shackled, and tonight is the night, something like that, to be released." He breaks the glasses, and then he attacks Mary. So I do feel like it's very telling. Like,
interesting.
Eyes or visual is like certain people use that to like hide in parts of themselves. Playing a double game. It can be a spectrum, but I do think it's very telling.
That is interesting because he wasn't able to move, like, and then suddenly he is able to move, and then the attack's coming at him, and he dodges it, and the thing visor pops up. But I mean, we're getting way too deep into something so small. But yeah, interesting. I mean, Egghead's been full of just like major panels and stuff. So yeah, keen.
Ooh, Miguel brings up a good point in the chat. He said, "Will the vials survive the Buster Call? The vials of green blood."
True.
They would survive through the Seraphim, but I don't know if they're gonna survive what's in the lab. But if they are in the Seraphim, they could always be maybe re-engineered by a Vegapunk if one of the Vegapunks survive. So on that note, actually, which Vegapunk do you guys think are going to survive? Because I'm not sure all of them will.
No, not all of them.
So I think multiple parties that are on Egghead are going to end up with their own Vegapunk.
I said that.
That's crazy.
You heard that from me.
I still believe that none of them are the real Vegapunk. I think they replaced the original Vegapunk after they meet Stella. Even Stella's a bit weird. I think the actual Vegapunk could be Punk Record somewhere else, you know. And it's one of the most obvious AI trope of the creation, knowing their one flaw is their creator. They analyze saying that, Vegapunk is the most important piece, but if he dies, we're all gone. We don't know how it works with satellite. And saying, we're going to protect you. And at the get-go, they all decide to lock him up, you know. I could see something like that as well. I don't really see them as...
We can assume, I see what you're saying as well. And like, Will in the chat has a great theory that I keep speaking, I want to speak it into existence, is that the Stella is actually just a physical hologram, like a tangible hologram, like a whole bunch of the other stuff on this island, and the real Stella,
like Saturn is potentially,
and like, yeah, the real actual like sentience is coming from Punk Records itself. And like, I've been saying it so much lately because he put that in the chat like forever ago, like I think during our mega stream. I mean, we were talking about it then as well, but I think that it would be super cool to me. Like, we know that Shaka, and I know some people have pushed back on this, but we could assume Shaka's done for. Pythagoras is done for. We could assume that Edison's done for. So we're just left with Lilith, York, and Atlas. And
we know Edison is still alive.
Do we?
And Stella.
Edison.
Yeah. I thought Edison blew up or whatever. Like, regardless,
No,
I think that the only ones that we actually have like legitimate connection to so far as bonds within the Straw Hats is clearly the Stella and Atlas, because Atlas gave Luffy food.
I disagree with that one. I actually think that it would be Lilith. If you think about
I want her in every arc from now on, every panel, every single panel.
Well, you're in luck because I think she's gonna be the next Straw Hat.
Oh my lord, no way.
I don't know about the next Straw Hat, but I think she will be the Vegapunk that travels with them.
Let me explain, right?
Yeah,
let me explain.
Absolutely.
I actually think the Stella will die.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if Punk Records itself will survive. If any of you guys buy into the idea that Egghead is going to be completely destroyed, I'm not sure if...
I want to say something. Vegapunk the Stella does not have a brain. He's always connected to the Punk Records. If you destroy Punk Records, there is no Stella.
So
there is no Devil Fruit at that point either if you get rid of the body of Stella.
So would you say, okay, so do you guys think that if the Stella is killed, the rest of the Vegapunks are done for? Or do you think that one could survive even if Stella is killed?
I think the way that it works is that he has crafted his Stella form to be able to exist without a brain, meaning that I don't think that if Punk Records is dealt with that means, because like it's the same way that we see York able to like eat, poop, and sleep for the rest of them and whatnot. I don't know. I think that it's interesting because if York is completely like separated from the equation and things like that, the rest of them have mouths. They could probably still eat and stuff like that. It's just that that's not their job. so that they haven't for a long time. But I
Yeah.
don't think that they need that person to fulfill that. It's just that that's what that person's supposed to do. But I don't think
we
that.
know that
I think, like, personally,
Stella
there's
is
two.
you saw it going to the punk records. This way he has an antenna for his head.
I mean, I get it,
That's
but
true.
that could also
That's true.
just be sending it to the rest of the satellites, which is like, it's partly like it, but it could be that he's crafted himself to be able to exist without like I don't know. There's a lot of different things in the world of One Piece that could make sense of it. It doesn't have to be one thing. Is all I'm saying.
I agree. Like, it's a hard thing to like describe, but I agree with what Vex is saying, kind of thing. Like, I think there's like two levels. Like, there's the deeper level, which is Punk Records, Consciousness, Vegapunk, the Stellar, and then there's the lower level, which is like we've spoken about many times. York's been captured. What happens if she just stops eating? Does that mean the others are going to die, or how does that work? I think it's fair to assume, particularly after we see Bonnie just burst the bubble and Oda kind of like swish past the fact that you could have made Kuma clones and stuff, but she burst the bubble. I think it's fair to assume that some of this lower level stuff will be removed by Oda. Like, so in other words, I wouldn't be surprised if York dies or something like that, or there's something that is explained early on about these, which then takes us to a deeper level, which personally I imagine will be Stellar, Punk Records, and personally I think Shaka. We know why, though, because of my Shaka agenda. But like,
I don't know. But the way that I want to like it could be like even like that his brain doesn't need to. It could be something to where like you think about a Denden Mushi and how they are telepathic and they can transmute signals and things like that. And it's kind of like the same thing as far as him to the satellites potentially. So the brain could be like Punk Records itself could be a red herring. Like, I'm not saying I believe that, but it is a possibility. Is just to kind of defend my stance. Is that anything could be a possibility. But I'm sorry, Middleway, you were about to cook?
No, I was going to say it may be possible that if whoever gets killed, their skills from the Vegapunks just get erased, but they could basically do just about the same thing. Like, let's say Pythagoras is mostly an engineer. So if Pythagoras gets killed, it's not Vegapunk may lose an actual engineering knowledge that's held in his brain, or unless we think that Punk Records holds all the skills and all the personalities, and if anyone gets killed, for example, Shaka's killed right now, they can just download the information to anybody else or to anyone else. So that would make, I think the most likely thing is that Punk Records is the one that needs to be killed for all of them to be erased indefinitely. Or it could just easily be that Punk Records is just the data store and not connected to their life at all. If they lose Punk Records, maybe they just lose a little bit of the Void Century knowledge to some degree. But I'm leaning towards the idea that maybe the main Vegapunk is going to get kidnapped and still survive in some way. And I think Lilith is going to be the last Vegapunk that's actually alive. Because I see Lilith here. So you know how Momo is more so the Bonnie is more so the Momo in this arc, right? So they're both like the youth that have something going on their island that Luffy needs to fix in their deeply ingrained narrative. But I would say Lilith is the Yamato of this arc, insofar that she has the most, she is the most similar to the Straw Hats. And if you think about her name, what was that?
Like, she's the most like connected to them out of all the other. Like, she was the first one to greet them, and then she brings them into Egghead. It's just very classic of Oda and One Piece.
Yeah, exactly. And she said something interesting. I don't know which chapter was it. Just about when they were running outside to confront Kizaru, she said something like, "Hey, I've actually never been outside this island before." And that deeply reminded me of Yamato's want to always be outside that island. And I think just going on with the same narrative themes, I think Lilith will be the one to actually survive. And that's just one level. The other level is I have this theory or this idea that each Straw Hat is connected to like the negative deity of most religions. Like, for example, Sanji is connected to the devil Diablo, right? And he's connected to the Ifrit as well. Zoro is connected to the Ashura. Let's say many others that I can think of, but I think of Lilith's name and the actual. Do you guys know the history behind Lilith in the Bible?
He's the mother of all demons in hell.
In the Garden
Yeah.
of Eden, she was the person who was. Yeah, it goes deep for sure.
Yeah, and I would say Lilith feeds that negative, almost revolutionary devil theme that the Straw Hats usually keep a consistent theme of. Even Usopp is Loki. So that's why I think
is Lilith Wrath?
No, she's
I would
evil.
say-
She's evil. Atlas was Rage
yeah.
or Wrath.
See, that is huge, dude. Like the fact that she's evil, just like that makes me buy this straight away. Like 'cause all of the Straw Hats have this. For those who, sorry, go on.
Excuse me.
No, I was going to say that may just be. I don't think it completely means evil in just the moral sense. Because from what we've seen,
Yeah, I mean, it
from what we've seen,
keeps.
like she's not exactly evil. She's more so just like science by any means necessary. But when you see her actual interactions, and how much more emotional she is than all the other Straw Hats. I mean, all the other other Vegapunk.
She's like cartoonish evil.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That is genius, Josh, dude. That's genius. Like, because obviously the setting of the arc. Yeah, I like that middle way. I like that a lot. Because I was going to say, for those who don't know, like, can you hear me all right? Am I lagging out a little?
Yeah, you're good.
No, you can.
I can hear.
Oh, okay, cool. I was going to say, like, some people might not have clocked, but like, if you go back, like, the core of One Piece is like any old shonen really is, like going through the hardship and coming out the other end. And we see it in so many of the Straw Hats, like the fact that particularly Luffy and also Robin, like these people that have seriously been through crazy trauma, but just are on the positive side anyway, like they're still fighting for good. And so that Lilith thing completely encapsulates the motif of the Straw Hats, in my opinion. And I think that is like chef's kiss, dude. We're happy to have you on. Like,
yeah,
And,
Cube,
I like also
Cube. Go ahead, Cube.
Yeah. Well, 2 points. First, I'm gonna go back on the initial question. I do think until they explain the full scale of how many times Atlas can come back, we can know if the permanent death of the satellite is a thing or not. Until they destroy Punk Records. So I do agree with Middleway on that point. And I like also to remind people with the Lilith talk. Don't forget Lilith was original, if I'm not mistaken, the original wife of Adam before Eve. Which is interesting, which I find, there's a lot of stuff of forced marriage we're getting in this arc, so I do think that the Lilith take that Middleway is having right now is very compelling. Because it's very accurate to the themes.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought it up. Sorry, I'll go real quick. I was just going to say, I'm glad you brought it up, Q, because I wanted to cook on the organoids a little bit. And then I also got a shout out to John Sherrod on all social media in the chat. What's good, JJ? Sorry, go ahead, Dindin.
I was going to ask this earlier.
On the organs.
Middleway, are you familiar with the whole like Lilith looking like kind of some of the satellites having resemblance to Ginny and Kuma's mum?
Yes. Yeah, I am familiar.
Yeah, okay, cool. Because I think that is interesting. Like, it's weird because Bonnie, a lot of people speculate Bonnie's going to join the crew. I personally don't think she is going to, but that's interesting because Lilith definitely, out of all of them, encapsulates this like this Bonnie lineage. So if Bonnie didn't join the crew but Lilith did, that would be bad. Like, I'd definitely be happy with that. Like,
speaking of that, actually, do you guys think that Vegapunk literally did to some level take some of Bonnie's DNA to make some of the Vegapunks? Because if she does look like Ginny, and I've seen actually other people point to to Atlas hairstyle as well to Ginny?
Yeah. Yeah.
What if it's possible that a lot of them, or mostly all of them, are part of Bonnie's DNA? Because we do know that Vegapunk also heavily experimented with Bonnie.
So that is the TLA agenda, pretty much. Like that's what we think, which leaves one out that has their face covered, which is Shaka. So Shaka to me is just like so interesting, like yet so useless.
On that note, I'm thinking that if it is the case that Vegapunk uses Bonnie's DNA, what if the reason why Shaka's face is actually hidden is because she looks most closely to Jenny?
Oh.
Which is also interesting because she was the first one to get killed by York, who wanted to
Shaka one.
Wait. Actually,
one, yeah.
What if it's the other? It's the thing. You know, there's this big mystery of who is actually Bonnie's father. What if Shaka might actually look like Shaka? If it's not Kuma, you know, if we're sure that it's not Kuma, he can actually look like the real father of Bonnie instead.
Yeah.
See, my thought was it's interesting that y'all are going with the genetic route, because we do know that he did experimentations and whatnot, but from what we gathered, he did experimentations to put stem cells into her system to fix the sapphire scale situation. But because of the sapphire scales and their contagious nature, I don't know if he would have, I don't know if they're like contagious like that, but it was able to go through like genes and whatnot. I don't know if he would really have held on to those genes to make the satellites. But I think that because we did see that Kuma left a huge bubble of memories there specifically for Vegapunk to research and cook on, and Vegapunk was like, okay, but you still have these memories, right? This isn't like them being pulled. And he's like, yeah, it's a copy. So like he had been able to research Ginny's appearance by looking into his memories and things like that. Like, you know, he'd spent however long researching all of that as well. I think that it's more likely as opposed to a genetic thing, because again, the genes passed down the sapphire scales. So I don't know if he would have done that. So I think it's just based off of memories. I think it's literally just based off of memories that he ended up using that as like influence maybe. But it's interesting that you guys did bring up genes, because that's my main pushback, but it would actually be really cool if that was it, you know. But I see it either way potentially.
The reason why none of the satellites look just like her potentially is exactly what you were just saying, is because these are not like Stussy, these are thoroughbred clones. Like they're not actually lineage, they're trying to look like them, that would be amazing. Like
I think it would make a lot of sense. On the sapphire scale thing, I like the memory better, because let's say you can't create a 1-for-1 on memories like alone. If you were to be able to try to create a clone, which I like it better. I just, on the DNA passing down through sapphire scale, we do know that Vegapunk did learn to cure sapphire to some degree. So I don't think that would be a barrier for him to create clones that have Ginny, or more so the cured Bonnie's DNA. You get me?
I mean, I feel that, but at the same time, is like if Vegapunk was that far ahead of the game, because you got to think about it. The reason that they had, said that the experimentation was a failure, as far as what Saturn had told us, is because, and they had literally sent her down, or not really given a crap about it. That's still a little bit confusing to me, but it's because the sapphire scale, like they successfully somehow got the devil fruit power to pass down, but it also had sapphire scales, and so like I feel like they deemed it as a failure. And so assuming that Vegapunk is that far ahead of the Gorosei, I mean I assume he's ahead. I don't know if he's that far ahead, so I don't know. I feel like that's just potentially a bit of a stretch.
I think Oda did answer in SBS years ago that he said that the man who's 500 years ahead of everyone. So I do think it's Oda's hinting that, you know, that might be a headcanon of how much his brain works in terms of, you know, the inventions he brings in.
Yeah. bracket, like gives you the bracket. Like I just had a interesting thought. Like Vex, you were just mentioning the fruit and the sapphire, and so them in a way, and it's interesting, right? Because devil fruits sink, and a lot, theorize that they're going towards the abyss, or there's lots of different theories, but that's very interesting that you can't go in the light if you get this sickness that comes from making a devil fruit, because as I say, devil fruit sink, which is drawn to the darkness at the bottom of the ocean. So that's interesting for sure.
Actually, you guys made me think of, if there's that big connection with Bonnie's DNA, I'm wondering if Edison and Pythagoras were made that way because when they made them into actual clone satellites, their body were being affected by the sapphire scales. Thus, they became metal because it's the skin. It's the skin. Remember, they said it's when the sunlight and moonlight hits your skin. They don't have skin. What if that's the reason why their bodies?
So they're like shells.
Yeah, immediately their body started to get corrupted, so they protected the mind by putting them into robot bodies.
And what if on that note, what if Punko 1, he has the sapphire scale, and that's why his face is also covered in everything.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's why he's number 1. Yeah. Well, I see.
It's by numbers of life expectancy. No, I'm kidding. It's
Wait,
crazy.
hold on. Who was 06 then?
Atlas.
Yeah.
Oh, I think there was renumbering.
Wait,
It might have. No, it was York.
Youngest.
No, it was York. In the first scans, it was Atlas, and then I think they renumbered it, and it became York by the time the actual. Yeah. So I'm pretty sure. I think it was like they fixed it whenever the Tankobon dropped. But I'm not positive. But yeah, I think York is actually 06, which is, I don't like that. I take back everything I said.
And also, I'd like to remind people, when we saw them in the Devil Fruit, the CP agents got captured in the old Devil Fruit laboratory. If you look back, I remember someone brought it up, zoomed in. The thing behind the container behind it was a PX, I think 001. It seemed like to be the beta test of all the pacifistas. So I always like to bring up that there might be an unused pacifista model also in Egghead. Because why show that number we never seen? And they said it's the old laboratory of Devil Fruits.
Bro, people were joking about it because we got the warlords, and they were like, we also knew that people who were in Impel Down also could have gotten the green blood pulled from them because of the swim fruit and Senior Pink. But the people were joking about who else could and Tekking did a whole hour-long video about who else could they have gotten cells from, and can you imagine an S Roger?
Yeah, that's what I wanted.
Yeah, that'd be crazy.
At the time before we knew it was Stussy, when the Vegapunk called someone, I honestly said to myself, imagine if it's a satellite or a seraphim, Roger, and you just hear the word S King, and you're like, oh shit.
Oh, what skin? No,
oh my god.
No, if they made Roger a seraphim, it wouldn't be a child. It would just be just a baby with a massive mustache that grows into an adult super quick. There's no child called Roger.
I would be interested to see Luffy fighting that though, because also the Seraphim don't have hockey too. So I wonder how will they depict the Roger fighting without hockey, or would the DNA of the Seraphim through Roger be just so powerful it just gets born with raw hockey?
I think they will get hockey. I think we haven't seen it yet, and that's interesting. And for a while, I was like, oh yeah, they don't have a will of their own, and then we see specifically that the S Snake is still Goo Goo Gaga over Luffy. So I think there is absolutely a chance that they hockey bloom. They're just extremely young at this point. So, but if they fight a strong enough opponent, I would love to see that. That would be amazing.
No, go ahead.
Go middle way. No, go middle way. I'll go after you. No.
Okay. On that note, okay, so do you guys think that Fishman karate is connected to hockey at all? Because we know that as Shark could use it. Because we know other people besides Fishman would be able to use it too, right? So do you guys think it's hockey connected?
Robin can use it.
Yeah. So would S Shark show some to some degree that yes, they can use certain techniques like hockey?
I'm gonna say
Oh.
Okay.
Cube go first. Cube go first.
Yeah. Okay, that's just something a theory of a friend of ours, Elids, another theorist, and I do believe that, and I'm bringing up Fishman Karate with it. I believe Rokushiki and Fishman Karate at a time were training wheels for people who had issues with hockey.
Yeah, like proto hockey. Sorry, and then Josh, you were gonna say something?
Yeah, for me, I see Fishman Karate as electro, and like it's just control of the water, and that just goes back to elemental hockey.
Elemental hockey, power vision theory, love it. And then hide. What were you gonna say? You said yes. Elaborate.
Oh, I was going to say that, like, I think that, like, the trickle down sort of hockey is Oda's going to be comfortable. You let Seraphim show that at the moment, but like with Kuma right now, we just saw the Black Fist.
I got something for that.
That is so important. Like, you know, that is so meaningful compared to like using karate, I would say. But I would say like they could definitely be intertwined and they could be, you know, yeah.
Yeah, and
I like
to jump in on the. Oh yeah, go Vex. I'll go. Just
I was just saying, I really like what Kube said and what Josh said, and I can see it being kind of an amalgam of that. Like, sorry, I'm so on the fence about everything today. I just like try to see every angle, and like, yeah, it's like I see it kind of as like a proto hockey where you're kind of using, but I also see it kind of like electro, where it's just like a natural trait of a species that's able to do a certain type of thing, but you do have to train it and things like that. So I mean, it's really interesting. Shout out to my guy Nasty Ninja in the chat. What's good, brother? But yeah, go ahead, Cube. Sorry.
Yeah.
So to the point, especially with Elit's point, was basically he said it was people who had, and the best example is when in Sphere you can look back, there's 3 parts of it. It is fire, 20 minutes each, so 1 hour in total. But you have to see it because he literally foreshadows the training of Aokiji. People have issues using hockey, so they use other means to go to that level. That's basically what Aokiji said. He can use hockey, and so he went through GARP's training. And if you look at it, Rokushiki has a secret technique, the 6th style, which is called Ryokugan. What does it do? It creates internal damages from a distance, those kind of stuff. Some people would compare it to Fishman Karate, but Ryo, that's literally Ryo, and it's called Ryokugan. So I do feel like, and I do like what Vex said about Electro. I think at a time, certain
Josh
people were just...
Yeah, I piggybacked. Yeah, I piggybacked.
Oh yeah, okay. So, like some people were just that strong-willed, like you had Roger type of people, or Luffy, who were just that natural gifted of hockey. We've seen it, but I think other people, they need to go through those other path. It's a bit like some people could just bike directly. They didn't need to stay 6 months in training wheels, and some people need 6 months of training wheels, and you have to remove one, then the other one. You know, it's a spectrum. Yeah, that's how I see it.
Interesting. Yeah.
On that note, then, do you guys think that would be related to Sanji's Diable Jambe then?
Yeah, we know that even Queen thought that would be connected to the Lunarians, his frames.
Yeah, that's a good point. Thought. Queen does say that, like.
Yeah, that's one thought, but there's also like if he's able to, as even without the raid suit, like mimic the Soba Mask power and move so fast that he is able to, like, I think that like honestly Diablo Jambe is probably closer to Electro because the static is building up from their hairs, like moving up against each other. It's kind of like that, but he's just igniting the flame. He's moving so fast. But it could go either way, like, because that's how it was first described to us. But that was pre-time skip, right? So, I don't how much of that actually applies now.
It wasn't described to us. That's the thing.
Pre-time skip, they treated Sanji, then receiving of Luffy's Red Hawk as Diablo Jambe and Hawk in post-time skip as a cause of friction. Look at Wano. The way that Sanji and Luffy are using the fire that comes out of them, not friction. It's
not at all.
Friction doesn't do that. Especially the moment with Luffy and Yamato, where he just punches and that punch just goes in different ways. I said, dude, friction doesn't do that. yeah. So yeah, I agree that it's
Midway, did you have some thoughts on Kuma's Haki? Yeah, I think you touched on that.
So all of this, like, remember we were going back to the Seraphim and stuff, and that kind of made me think, wait, okay, so how is Kuma able to use Haki completely? Well, they say that he's completely not himself and not conscious. And I was thinking, what if, okay, this gets a little bit deep, but I was thinking, what if the reason he can use Haki is through his Devil Fruit? Now, the reason that goes deep is because, do you guys think that Devil Fruits can store a previous user's Haki?
Yes, actually, because
that's a deep question.
It's like an inherited will situation, and we've seen with Sabo and Ace would be the number one like thing to pull. Is that, you know, a little bit of the will potentially does transfer from user to user. And I think compatibility is a big thing as well. It's not just like and that's why like we've seen like, or we've heard about the Gomu Gomu eluding the world government and potentially seeking out Luffy, but that's just headcanon at this point. But specifically, if the fruit really aligns with you and you're compatible with maybe a previous user, like I run One Piece D&D, and that's like something that I take into consideration as like a DM whenever like a player wants to eat a devil fruit. I'm like, okay, so like are you fully compatible, and like how does it, because like, you know, there's different like levels of fruit usage and fruit knowledge as well. So I think absolutely if there's like a inherited will, this is kind of like more of a like a hard-lined way of doing it, as opposed to like just playing the lottery and maybe inheriting somebody's will. This is like a direct like cheat code speed run way of inheriting will, is by getting a fruit. Go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, we know a direct example of something like this with swords. Enma has Odin's Haki.
Exactly. And
I do
think about it. And just to bring up the Enma part, I was going to bring it up. Also, don't think about it. You need to be compatible to Enma, or else you would die. There's similar themes to Devil Fruits.
Yeah. I mean, like I do want to just like quickly translate like what Middleway was saying as well into just like OP math, in the sense that like the Nika fruit was said to have a will of its own, and the manifestation, physical manifestation of will, is key. So I think like on the rawest levels, what you're saying is like mad trippy. like the fruit, even without being eaten by somebody, could essentially give off Haki. Right now, this does tie into a few things actually, because the Adam tree, very much like the poneglyphs, are indestructible yet can be etched into or carved out. We know this from Adam wood being traded on the black market and engravings left on the poneglyphs. So it is possible. Like, what happens if you shoot a devil fruit? Like, I wonder if they give off like some sort of armament vibe or something like that. But it's an really interesting thought, dude. And which fruits do it? Which fruits connect higher on higher Haki frequency, stuff like that. So yeah, mad spicy.
I think that it also could have something to do with, because I mean, there was like when Vegapunk was thinking to himself, he's like, oh, and you know, Buccaneers have this other trait separate from their body that's like, and then he never finished, and there's the classic ... So it could be something tied to his lineage outside of the fruit, but fruits do also alter your lineage, which is something that we learned from like Vegapunk and Judge's studies and things like that, and the way that like Caesar makes smiles and things like that. It's like it directly alters your lineage, like on a like subatomic level, basically. So it could be a mixture of the two.
And now
this is opening up a whole can of worms, guys, because now I gotta ask you this. So I don't know if we have an example of somebody's parents having a fruit. Like, okay, I wonder. So you know how we were talking about elemental Haki and fishman karate and all the likes. I wonder. I'm losing my train of thought here because I was just about to get something.
Take your nowhere. Take your
deep. I feel for you.
Yeah.
I was feeling it as well.
Okay. I got it. So I wonder, do we have any examples of somebody's devil fruit literally being passed down through childbirth? And I wouldn't say it's the exact devil fruit itself.
It's just Bonnie. That's the only example we have.
And
because that's what he said, is that he said that the devil fruit power, like they were experimenting on how to get, and it I'm pretty sure that I need to read the officials, but like I'm pretty sure he did say that the power like was transferred through birth, and now the fruit itself is useless. So I'm not sure.
So it maybe possibly what I was saying, like let's say if Ace, if that same thing happened to Ace, right? And let's say you don't get the full fire powers, rather you can maybe only channel it through your legs, for example. So what if their fruits literally, since they change your whole biological nature, that the reason why Fishman Karate, the Lunarian Fires, and Electro, and all those things that are like, were just during the Ancient Kingdom, their food users somehow was able to pass down their foods through their kids.
I personally, right, I like Kube and I have spoke about this for years. Like, I don't think it is the descendants of devil fruits. I think it's excuse me, parallel to it. The origin is deeper. So the raid suit is a devil fruit. Electro is a devil fruit, or like that's analogous with a devil fruit. But all of them, I imagine, don't come from devil fruits. I imagine they come from a level beyond that. And devil fruits are one stem, technology, lineage, stuff like that are the other stems. Which will definitely, I think, have clarified through ancient weapons and stuff. And they actually are. But the question is, what were the powers before the devil fruits, in my opinion?
Yeah, and I do like that, because I always felt that it's such an odd thing to go in details of it in Fishman Island, is the birth of Fishman, you know, how the genetic works, how it can skip a generation from another one. And I feel like since Fishman Karate, they have their Fishman Karate, Minks have Electro. I always wondered if that's how inherited wills works, you know? It doesn't go directly to the next person, like maybe someone in the family or someone nearby, like the way they described it, and I think it could be very similar. It can maybe skip a generation. Let's say that someone in Sanji's family at one point, but we know it's a Vince Smoke, but let's say he didn't have any of the Germa stuff. The Vince Smoke had nothing to do with science, nothing with maths. Judge was just a king. It could be a thing that if at one point someone was not Lunarian, because we would have seen some feature to that, but if someone was like had the Mera maybe 100 years ago in his family, maybe because of certain stuff of Sanji, he's able to like have those double jump it. That's my big question. Like, yeah, like maybe it could, because the way they describe Fishman lineage is very interesting, because for something that's, you know, just an information, he was very simple, straight to the point, but there was no like confusion. Look at right now an egghead of Devil Fruits. Like we all have some great ideas. We understand what else we analyze the chapters, even the arcs before that. But Vegapunk hasn't given an exact definition like Oda was said foreshadowed in SDS. We still don't get it, but for that, it was simple, straight to the point. Keep it simple. It was really simple, and it made like, I feel like it works with more stuff. It's not just Fishman lineage. It's you know.
Yeah, it could be basically, it could be sort of a cheat code towards understanding a lot of the powers, the weird powers that we see in One Piece, but we don't understand how they work at all. It could be.
I mean, just to really quickly touch on what you're saying, Django is a massive example of this. Like, grew a mushroom on his chin, ate it, now has powers. Like, very strange.
Exactly. So maybe, perhaps somebody maybe before him, far behind in his lineage, had some sort of powers that were like was able to manipulate somebody to some degree.
Is Django a Kanoki Bito, like a mushroom person? Like, no, that's crazy.
Yeah.
However, I just realized something. What we're talking right now is this can low-key explain to us why with Lunarian and Skypians, we kind of saw people are very Lunarian. We only saw one, so and the Seraphim, so they look very similar. You say the same thing with Fishmen, Minks. It could explain why the humans have such a spectrum of different sizes, shapes, those kind of stuff. There are even some fishmen, some humans who look like very the giant ones who look like very monkey-like. It could be because it's what we're talking about. You know, race interracial stuff, mixture with Devil Fruit stuff. I mean, it's a melting pot.
The blood transfusion is, probably the biggest facet to do with that. Like, in some like shonen, like you've got a dude of one species declining to take the blood of another, and like the truth is probably because Tiger knew that like he is human. Like they're all human. They're all the same, or irrelevant if they're human or not. But they're all the same. They all come from the same place, I imagined, unless you're a Moon fan. But I personally think the people that were on the Moon were also from the Blue Planet originally.
Yeah,
Anyway,
and that goes to my theory that the human fruit just incorporates every race in One Piece, not just human.
Right. Josh, for Middleway, elaborate on your thoughts on Chopper's
That's a
fruit.
perfect segue to another one of Middleway's theories. So Josh, yeah, cook on that, please.
For sure.
Yeah, so basically, every form of chopper represents one of the races, like, not directly, but their most well-known trait. Like, the Garpoint just grows a lot of fur, and minks are known for their fur that generates electricity. And there is one for each race. That's my the bare
Each of the
bones
ancient races, potentially.
Yo,
Yeah,
to tie in with that kind of, it's crazy because the Will of Dreams put in the chat, what if the original devil fruits were the Kinoki Bito and the race was wiped out to get the devil fruit powers? And yeah, I put in the chat, like the Hito original model, if we assume that's what it was a mushroom, was literally a mushroom like shape.
That's
Yeah.
dark. It could be true though, because the mushroom is like basically the first living thing on Earth.
Yeah, and like after the Cambrian explosion that like wiped out like pretty much all like multicellular life for like a long time, like the first things that came back into this world to help clear the air and, you know, purify the waters and set the soils and things like that were mushrooms. Literally the first things that came back after like the meteorite.
Some people speculate that mushrooms are from the meteorite as well, and that like mushrooms aren't of this Earth, which I personally think Oda kind of like does have a little bit going on in One Piece, like the Dendens and stuff like that. Some things don't seem to be naturally from the Blue Planet.
That's crazy. We were talking about this last night with Holger and Coltrane on Chad Rules, where we're just like, yo, like, so how deep into everything do you think Oda just knows shit before it's true? Because like we were talking about like these ancient civilizations that are just now being discovered, and then like, yo, that's One Piece. Like, and then like seeing things like with like I've been like looking into a whole bunch of like the Pluton and like Pluto parallels and stuff like that. I'm like, yo, so did he know that Pluto wasn't a planet before it was declared not a planet? Like before scientists knew? Is Oda this far ahead of the curve? Like, it's crazy.
He is the scientist. Mad.
Actually,
I would say
now that you guys
a historian, that's for sure. We underestimate just how this man probably spends just an unhealthy amount of times actually researching some crazy stuff, and he's rich, right? So let's say he wouldn't be able to just get access to Egypt pyramid. That's what I think the
wild.
That's what I think.
Oda just casually buys a pyramid. Like, yeah, this is mine now. Bro, no, he's not that rich, but no, I love that idea. Kube, what were you about to say?
Yeah, and actually, no, I was thinking, because I never thought of like, the original devil fruit could be mushrooms. Like, think about it. The one thing we know about fruits is fruits are delicious, right? What do we know about devil fruits? They taste bad. Maybe that's because that's the mushroom aspect of it. The taste still stayed. It's the illusion, It's even though it looks like a beautiful apple, you eat it, it tastes just like a mushroom. And it could be also like, think about how many times have we like thought that something would be delicious, like a cake, and because of your assumption that it'll be delicious, you eat it. What happens? You spit it out. What is it? It's disgusting. It's like garbage. And obviously it's not garbage, but it's because your perception of it, I heightened it up.
Fondant's disgusting. No, I'm sorry, but no, yeah, I think
that.
Go ahead.
Oh no, sorry, I'm done. No worries, I'm done.
It's interesting.
No, I like the unified rate, like there were, and like this kind of feeds into, I've been talking about it for a long time, so I'll be like really brief in multiple other streams, but like in the story Land of the Lustrous, which is crazy similar to One Piece in so many different means and ways, but the originally humans were the only like dominant race on this planet, and then it was struck with a calamity and the water levels rose, and humans ended up diverging into 3 different evolutionary branch offs, and one of them is like these like gem people, kind of like Steven Universe, and one of them is like fish people, like like actual merfolk and fishmen in One Piece. And the third race went on to live in the moon, and they're this angelic form that is called Lunarians. And this was actually like years before we got the actual Lunarian name drop in One Piece. So the first time I heard the word Lunarian wasn't even in One Piece, but I love that it could be like an evolutionary branching point. And like it feeds into the theory that something drastic happened to this world. Like if the red line were to be formed, or if like if the water levels were to rise, or if something like massive in the past happened, that's exactly what would happen evolutionarily. Sorry, go ahead, Middleway. I just had to bring that up.
No, you just made me think about something. Then, if that is the case, then okay. So do you remember how you robbed the Lunarian part of them going? They're just being an original race, and some of them went to the moon. Do you remember how Inaru, the whole theme behind him going to the moon is that he thought that it was Earth?
Endless Verth, yeah.
Yeah. Where he belongs.
I wonder though, have you guys ever heard about the idea that the endless verse he's actually referring to is the Blue Sea?
I have heard some people talking about it, particularly years and years ago, like but I've heard a couple people more recently. But yeah, the idea that he's got it wrong and it's in revert.
Yeah.
Well, so he referred to two different concepts. He referred to fairy verth and endless verth. And like, so fairy verth is just like, I guess, any amount of like land. But like endless verth is specifically a location where it's land as far as you can travel in all directions. So like, but I think he did talk about two similar concepts, I believe. It's been a long time since I watched Skypiea though.
There's an old French theory, you know, because I'm francophone. I can't find it, but I remember someone once wondered if, you know, he connected with Roger's speech a few years ago with turning the world upside down and the stuff with Enel, you know. And he said, what if Enel's description of the infinity verse, fairy verse, he's talking about the all blue.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Sage really covered it well in that Reverie years ago, I think 2018, where she was saying like about like the idea is it was a promise to take these people to fairy birth or the blue world, which is what Emu's promise was to the celestial dragons, to like take them back to the fairy birth, which is either the moon or they think it might be the moon or something, but it's a trick, you know what I mean? Really, they're already on it, like, but yeah.
Yeah, I love the thought, like real quick, I'll let you cook Middleway. I just had one more thought because of what Duran put in the chat. He said that I think there has to be a mirror to that, like someone from the moon that came to Earth thinking it was another place. Like, I think it's that Enel is meant to be an inversion of, like, specifically in Enel's cover story, we find out that the moon was abandoned because it was stripped of its resources. And so if they came to Earth seeking water, in a parallel to Enel going to the moon seeking land, you know, so like, and we know Oda loves to play around with parallels and inversions and things like that. Sorry, go ahead, Middleway. You were about to say.
That'd be sweet. But let's put a pin on this actually, because going back to Chopper in the origin of Devil Fruit, have you guys heard my Chopper theory?
I have watched it. Yeah, it's really, really solid. I like it. But go ahead and give us
for the viewers. I mean, feel free to.
Yeah, so much for the others who also the people who are watching who haven't seen it maybe.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
Just give us a brief so people can still go watch your video and get those moments. But yeah, just give us like a brief rundown because I really like it. I think it's great. So
the idea is that, if I could put it as short as possible, the idea is that, like how you guys were saying that Oda does a lot of inversions. The idea is that Chopper's Devil Fruit is simply the Tanuki Devil Fruit. I don't know if you guys know what a Tanuki is, but it's basically the mirror to like the Kitsune, the nine-tailed fox. But it could also turn into things, and it looks exactly like how Chopper looks. And the whole idea behind the theory is that Oda has been telling us all along that Chopper is actual Tanuki, because Tanukis they turn into humans, but they could turn into just about anything. But their main forms that they take is a human acting like a human acting like a human. That's their main thing. And it's interesting that we never see Chopper turn into a human or turn into a full reindeer when he gets thrown in the water.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of just retains that fruit. So that's the theory in short, that he actually is just a tanuki, and a tanuki mythically could turn into just about anything. But I've heard, but going back to the origins of devil fruit, I've heard the idea that Chopper would be, I don't know if that's the theory that you were having. I don't know who had the Chopper theory, but is the theory that Chopper's devil fruit is the original human, or can tap into just about any human?
Yeah, that's basically my ideas.
Yeah, so
that's Josh. That's what he's asking. He's asking you, like, is the theory that he can turn into a human, or what's your thoughts, Josh? Is what he's asking.
Yeah, basically, yeah, in the Skypiea there were mentioned 4 gods: the sun god, the rain god, the earth god, and the forest god. I think Chopper's fruit is the forest god fruit, the god that created the races and nature and things like that.
I mean, I personally think it's like ultra significant because it's a Hito. As like my first ever proper video I released, like I believe that Blackbeard went there for that Hito. The reason why he couldn't find it was because the island was frozen. It connects to Drum, which, as we know, is super significant now because the drums are liberation. As you know, I believe the drums are actually trees that were cut in half. So I think the fruit is ultra significant, and it's a fly agaric mushroom connected, you know, tied to enlightenment and the idea of tripping and stuff like that. And humans, we mentioned Oda being on fringe culture, and that's what some people believe, is that like it was mushrooms and stuff and tripping psilocybin that led to humans evolving, their brains growing. So it's undoubtedly probably the most important fruit that the Straw Hats have, despite the Nika.
Yeah, I like the thought that it could be a proto-human type of fruit, but I really did like the Tanuki video as well. And to the Willow Dreams in chat that saying that it's the teapot and Wano, that is a thing that it exists, but we don't have confirmation. And like the thing is like, how would Wano have gotten to the point where they could, because it's supposed to be something that like probably only Vegapunk actually had figured out, is how to feed items Zoan fruits. It could have easily been that the original Tanuki that the fruit itself is based off of was something, and it ate a teapot fruit.
Like, I just want to jump in what you're saying. Sorry, like the Vegapunk thing I think is really interesting. However, I do believe Wano knew how to do it first, and Vegapunk learned through Kuina's dad, which is, you know, how. Yeah. Anyway. But sorry to interrupt.
I don't know about that. Like, I don't know about Kyoshiro having any like significance like that.
Make it Fugfried. Yeah.
No, but just to reiterate, like it could have literally been that an actual Tanuki, the actual mythical creature, not something that ate the Tanuki fruit, but an actual Tanuki was in Wano, which would be the place where it's the Japan of the One Piece world. It would be the place where a Tanuki would exist and prosper in some time or another. Yeah. And if it just ate a teapot fruit, I think that's not a ridiculous potentiality. That's actually something that could be like the truth.
I mean, like, we see multiple Tanukis in Wano. And Tanuki is a real life animal too.
I mean, Tanuki is a mythical creature in Japan, but like there are raccoons.
There is a real life animal, Tanuki.
On that note,
that they're referring to the. Oh yeah, go middle way.
No, I was saying on that note, that's exactly what I think happened. I think the actual, like you were saying, there's an actual Tanuki animal, and that a teapot ate. And the reason why I think that it is right that Wano knew how to do it way before Vegapunk is because we kind of have, this leans into a whole nother can of worms, and we could go in there if we want to understand devil fruits, but we kind of have an indication, a very small indication, that Enma may have some sort of devil fruit. What do you guys feel about
Or
that?
at least it's, I would say, analogous. Like, personally, that's how I feel. Like, Enma, like, I believe there's more to it. Enma's got a lot going on, but I believe the idea is, that's why Pluton is there as well, is because it's this idea of machines or inanimate objects becoming animated, animate. I don't know. Sorry, Kube.
Autonomous.
I was just gonna bring this up because I think Dead and I we speak a lot the last few months. I think most of TLA we've also spoke about this, and this is one of my head canons. And I said this: there are three different types of devil fruits. I believe the reason why every devil fruit user refer to themselves as their devil fruit and a man is because originally all devil fruits started as Hitos, just evolved throughout the time. So I do like what you guys talk about the Tanuki and those kind of stuff. I think they all started as Hito. That's why Kizaru is a light man, Luffy's a rubber man, Katakuri is a moshi man. So a lot of them keep referring them, I am this type of man. They're all, you know, so I think they all started as Hitos.
I was watching, it's funny, I made the joke, I was shouting out because we were talking about Tanukis. I was like, yo, shout out to Chestnut Tanuki in the chat. But I was watching the Chibi Girls live stream to the chapter after Dak did and stuff like that. And Hime brought up a really crazy point. And she's kind of cooking on it for a bit, but she's like, what if, like, there are, like, once Devil Fruit, if they do compile previous wills and traits from previous users, if a Devil Fruit is eaten like 1,000,000+ times and it has absorbed enough will to become enough of a human that it has like a human form, and what if the Gorosei are actually like living, walking devil fruits instead? Like, I don't know, it's like a, it's just a, yeah, it's crazy. But if you were to compile like One for All style, just like 1,000,000 different wills and things like that, at what point would you yourself as a fruit become autonomous and animated, like how Den was trying to say? But yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, like, and it's a cool thought. I don't know if I really believe it, but it's a really cool thought. I love that Oda has left it so open-ended that we can all spitball and speculate just these crazy things, and they could all be true. Any one of them.
I definitely buy into that. Whoever created that, I definitely buy into that, because if you think about the Gorosei, I think it's too simple to say that they just have a devil fruit.
Right.
I think they themselves would be the devil and X out the fruit. As in, like you said, there would be basically the fruit front and center. Like, it would just be the fruit that's manifested itself rather than being eaten or anything. I think it makes the most sense, because why would the highest powers in the world be able to get defeated by seawater?
Right.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is that's why I believe that they're the devils without the weaknesses of any devil fruits themselves. So that's that. I
There are
like
these
that
ideas that Imu controls the seas and things like that. It could be just, wouldn't be out of place to the Gorosei to have the water weakness so that Imu can just control them.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's interesting.
And I do like this point that, you know, when Sabo was against Imu, he made that statement with the Gorosei, I thought my attack would do more damage. And then Imu did something with Sabo that we never seen the mirror do that. It immediately evaporated on contact. It had, and I'll challenge anyone on the watching the stream. Every time that they use a mirror or fire attack, it's never done that. Even with Smoker's interaction, there's some sort of forced shockwave effect. None of it just evaporates. So I've always said that if in chapter 19, when Shank talks about the Sea Devil, that every devil for the different parts of the Sea Devil, if Imu is a Sea Devil, I'm wondering what if Imu is cursed by the sea? Thus, all devil fruit users are also cursed by the sea. It's Imu's curse that everyone is basically a victim of.
Or Imu was done to curse the devil.
Real quick, this is crazy. We got a super chat from Mr. Bushido56, €5. He said, Kid will defeat Big Mom 1v1 on Elbaf, become the hero to the giants who still fear Big Mom. The grand line is magnetic. Kid true potential with his devil fruit. I've cooked on that a lot, actually, as far as the Grand Line being magnetic. As far as the Elbaf stuff, we'll get more into that and cook on that later on into the stream. But we've got a few more topics.
Bushido got a lot into that comment. Like that was impressive.
Yeah,
like
honestly,
ideas.
Skilled. But yeah, I think that as far as like if we are talking about like I don't know, like as far as devil fruit go, I think that like it would make sense it's that there's more than just one power, like Blackbeard's power, that would be able to negate them, and like hockey we've seen being one of them. I think that there could have just been an instance where somebody used hockey in such a massive amount, like in Bleach, like spiritual pressure, that it dissipated the devil fruit attack. Because like it can't just be paramecia that are able to be countered through like sheer amounts of hockey usage, like we saw with Law versus the 6/6 symptoms. It has to be all kinds of devil fruit. If you were to hit somebody with enough hockey in your fist, you might be able to knock them out of Zoan form. But if you were also to exert hockey around you in such a like a palpable cloak kind of like a situation, it might even be able to negate Logia type elemental attacks. I think that would be what it was.
We saw Shen do it, to be honest, with Green Bull, because Green Bull's a Logia.
Yeah,
it's an interesting
from so far away.
The very fact that Haki affects Logias, that plays a point.
Yeah. It's an interesting just idea in general, and it does tie to this Gorosei idea, because ultimately, as we say, Haki is like soul manifested into reality, and that seems to turn off devil fruits, right? Like we're saying. And so if the Gorosei, some people speculate that the Gorosei are people that have been consumed by the will of the devil fruit. So they're literally the devil fruit incarnate, like in a body.
I mean, we see the gods of Impel down, they just animal instincts. And we know they're awakened.
Yeah, like it's like it's like the wrong form of awakening. It's like when Kureha said that Chopper's fruit ran wild when he went into, his first monster point, when it was off screen, like before we ever met Chopper in a flashback. She said his fruit ran wild, which is such a crazy term. I don't know what the actual translation was in the official viz, but when I was watching that, I remember hearing that and I was like, that is such a crazy term. And then seeing that in Impel Down as well, so close after like the Ennie's lobby, like him losing his shit, and I thought he was gonna die in Monster Point. Like it was crazy, but it's literally the fruit like taking over the will of the user. I like that. And yeah, Dill,
and Haki's the complete opposite.
Dill, I'm gonna make you read your own super chat.
Well, since we're on no topic entirely about really all of this, what do you guys think about the downfall of the ancient kingdom? Could it have been a traitor, or possibly just lack of knowledge of the enemy?
I think what happened with the ancient kingdom is kind of the very same thing that happened at Alabasta. I think that somebody was able to convince the people that the ancient kingdom was evil. And it was a wrongful accusation, but they were able to kind of manipulate the 20 kingdoms into attacking the ancient kingdom, very similar to how Crocodile did. And in this case, I would believe the person that did it would be Emu instead of Crocodile. So I think it was completely orchestrated by Emu.
Yeah.
And to tack onto that, I would just quickly add that rather than people, I imagine it's race. Like, so Alabasta, you have people and people. I imagine this is going to be people versus lower classes, people that are kind of non-human, and the ones that ended up in the New World.
Yeah, I'm gonna jump in. We talk about Alabasta. I think the biggest inspiration for it is Doflamingo, who is a former Celestial Dragon. The way he took over Dressrosa on the one night, and if you remember what Kiro said, on this tragic evening, Doflamingo took out me, King Riku, and anyone who could do something where eyes were turned into toys, killed, or captured. And there's one night, all the people who would stop Doflamingo wouldn't be able to. So I think it's even political side. But there was something actually I want to bring up, and it's going to be a spicy one, of a possible someone who might have failed Ancient Kingdom. And it's recently, in in Egghead, when the Gorosei are calling the Straw Hats, and Luffy is just answering to the Gorosei's answers, and then Robin calls him out. Don't give that those kind of information. And we know that Joy Boy at one point left a message saying, "I apologize for not following my promise."
Oh.
I'm wondering if they use Joy Boys, because we know that there's gonna be a huge parallel between Joy Boy and Luffy, like we think between Roger and Joy Boy. And there could be a thing that Joy Boy has the two features of Roger and Luffy, which is he's this powerful person, but he can also be very naive. That's a big point with Luffy that keeps coming back. He sees into people. Like, think of Nami, think of Robin. It worked well, but imagine if they were like more like Blackbeard pirate type of people. They were gonna betray Luffy again, Like, it's good, but Luffy has this thing of trusting too much of his heart. So I do feel like Joy Boy can be possibly an unwilling participant in the downfall of the Asian Kingdom if they use, use them.
I buy into that.
I got a couple things I want to say, if that's cool. Like, as we've got midway here, I want to give my take and I want to ask a question. My question is, have you got any thoughts on Mamudin?
On what?
Have you heard the term Mamudin?
No. Wait.
Real quick, before you get into that, I'm just gonna read 2 more quick super chats, and then I'll let you spit on that for a little bit. Mr. Bushido 56 with another €5 said Smoker will reveal the potential of Logia as he introduced Logia, so he'll explain how awakening works, and he will fight Kizaru. Both have unclear justice. I actually like that a lot. I'll cook with you. Yeah, because I've been speaking up so much about Smoker's uncertainties and like how he potentially might be leaning towards becoming like a revolutionary if he speaks to like Dragon or Saul even. So I really like that, but we'll cover that later because we will be talking about the Revolutionary Army before the stream wraps up. Absolutely. And then Dill with another $5 super chat thinks that the downfall of the Ancient Kingdom is tied to the D's.
Oh wait, it wasn't full mess. Yeah, it wasn't a full message. It was going to be. I think it's tied to the D's nuts.
Oh, classic. Yeah, we love that. But sorry, go ahead on Mamudin for a bit. Yeah, I just had to before we got too far away.
We can talk about Mamudin after, right? Like the one that I do want to just drop my take though on the Ancient Kingdom. Just as I say, as we got midway here, I want to know your thoughts. But like, and these boys already know. But like, I'm a strong believer that we have the two sovereigns, and that. There's quite a distinction in the One Piece between the East and the West. And I'm thinking that there was probably like 16 kingdoms, or around that, it doesn't really matter, but 2 main ones. We've got the Monkey Kingdom in the East and the Dragon Kingdom in the West. And the 2 sovereigns will be like the son of the Monkey Clan and the daughter of the Dragon Clan. And then they're brought together and they're like, the universe pushes them together, and like the Dragon Clan look down on the Monkey Clan for not being... like pure or something like that. They're kind of chaotic, wild, like chaos and stuff like that. And that causes the war, basically, which ends up with Uranus being used on what I imagine, maybe, I don't know, Enies Lobby probably, and it went all the way through, popped out Reverse Mountain. So that's my take, like my quick take. So yeah, sorry about that.
That's wild.
That's interesting. So do you think the Lunarians were the Dragon Clan?
I don't think the Lunarians were. I think, personally, I don't really have much thought for. They definitely ain't the Sky people that were depicted in the rules. So it wouldn't surprise me if they were a traitorous race to the Sky people, and that's why they've kind of got like this black stuff going on and the flames, because they've been experimented on. They're like the celestial dragons of the skies potentially, but that is just off the top.
If you look at the Japanese word for what celestial dragons are, it's the Tenryubito, which is it just means that celestial dragon basically, but Ryu can be translated into multiple different things, and one of the different translations that you could use for Ryu instead of dragon is specifically nobility. So that's like a play on words. It's like a pun that Oda does. So I think that it could be specifically like, I don't know, the space pirates that we saw in NL's cover story that could have just been some sort of nobility that came over and were trying to be sovereign, like,
Mhm.
and like again, I think that there was a massive calamity that forced at some point in time, and I don't know if this was 800 years ago and directly involved like the fall of the ancient kingdom or anything like that, but I think that at some point there was a massive calamity that took place, which drastically changed life on the world of that One Piece takes place on. And through some sort of Machiavellian, series of events from that calamity happening, maybe like it is like, mushrooms rode in on an or maybe, this was just a point where they were needing more resources or needing more this or that, and somebody weaseled their way in. And I think that Emu might just be the result of a lot of circumstances. I don't know if it's going to be like that deep, but I don't know. There could be anything.
Yeah, I told you before the connection between dragons and snakes. So what if the dragon clan is the snake next people?
I definitely think that the snake, like Muglatan's the man for this. Like the snake definitely ties to Joy Boy, and obviously we're now really getting some big reveals because of Lily and stuff like that. So yeah, I definitely think the Snake Clan, or this is why I think there's not just the West and the East, the two kingdoms. I imagine there'll be 16, 8 on each side, or something along that line, and the 8 on the like wild side will be the animals, like the snake and stuff like that. Whereas on the dragon side in the West, just like in the real world, like white people, and maybe shouldn't go there on the stream, but
wow,
you know what I mean? Like,
you just said that.
Sorry, I didn't even think. Like my instinct just kicked in to stop. But anyway,
Anglo.
point is,
no, I'm joking.
they'll be like the Don Quixote
sorry.
stuff, like the noble humans in the West.
Yeah, I want to say, if you look at Emu's silhouette, it kind of looks like Emu has a really long neck.
Interesting.
Does that, or maybe she has a whole long body like a snake overall. That could be the case too.
Yeah.
There's also a theory that like the long arm and long leg people were originally one race that ended up getting split up somehow, like geographically. And then like, what if Emu just has like long arms, long legs, and a long neck, like all three of those divergent tribes? Real quick, Cube, I'm gonna let you spit, but I wanted to read another. I gotta keep up with the super chats, y'all. But yeah, a wacky wavy inflatable emu. That's crazy. But Mr. Bushido with another €2 said, volume 25 and 105 represent 2 sovereigns, a carrot and a goat. I don't know about that, bro. But that's the carrot agenda is so strong with you, brother. It's admirable.
So
Too much.
I want to go back on something that when Dead in the Midway we're talking about the 2 sovereignty. You guys talked about Lunarians, in which I do like the idea that maybe Lunarians were the ones who betrayed or were not on the side. But I would challenge you. I think it could be the Giants. With all the stuff we've been getting, the Giants are not the same group, a tribe of one person. Soul says it, that he's not like the people on Elbaf. And the people on Elbaf were known to be fueled by war, and they only decided to live at Elbaf because the tree that lived there in Warland was indestructible. For them, it was like a symbol of something. And it does make me feel like back in the day, we know that ancient Oda, but I would think that Oda would do something very beautiful, is, portraying as those beautiful giants as not, as the red herring. They're the hero giants. It could have been that some of the giants were on the wrong side of history. And we've seen in the stories that they might not have Lunarians willingly working for them. They might not have actual fishmen. Like, we haven't seen someone world government as fishmen, but what have we seen? We've seen giants working for the world government. So that's why I do think giants had a dark history, like 800 years ago. It would also explain why some giants just don't want to work anymore with the world government.
I think this all goes back to the idea that it sounds like a lot of these clans and different races were manipulated and fed some form of like artificial enemy to each other. So it could be very well the case that in a way they kind of all betrayed, they kind of all unwillingly betrayed each other because they were fed information that each one of another actually wanted conflict with them, but in reality the conflict was never there. So it could be that the traitor is everybody else but the Monkey D family or the Monkey D clan.
I
It can
do
be parallel to
really
Squallow.
really
Think of
quickly want to cut in really quickly. One sec. There is a very, if anyone watching wants to check it out, there is a very very spicy old poem about the rabbit and the Rabbit Moon King, and I think it's an elephant, and the rabbit puts like the elephant against the whale and like tricks them to fight each other. And I think it's in the TLA server, like somewhere. I've got it on my notes, so I can always post it. But it's a 1-to-1 with what you're saying, basically. And I've always thought about One Piece when I read that. So I think that's completely legit, like that they were put against each other. But sorry.
Yeah, I have a para for that. Whitebeard, the White Paramount War. What happened with Squallow? Squallow was meant to believe that Whitebeard was using them to give them exchange of ace. It was basically a scheme. And what was Whitebeard's statement to Sengoku when he got upset and he was crying for Squallow? I'm sorry that they misled you. Then he says, Sengoku, you guys are still playing the same old tricks. And then in that flashback of Odin's flashback, when he beats him up, he says, I've been part of people who are not actually all there loyal and are ready to backstab one and over. I'm not going to be part of this again. So I do think what you're saying, middle-way, there are some narrative points to that the world government has been basically scheming behind people's back, getting people who are the different sides and finding core issues like, oh, you saw that attack? Well, actually, they made a deal with us. This in exchange of that. And then they start be hesitant towards them. So I could see something similar to that. It's a slow burn. Basically, it was not one event. It was like countless of events that happen. It's a bit like in our world. Think about it. There's never a big war never happens because of one instance. It's like years and years of turmoil, building up until it explodes. It could be something similar to that.
Yeah, if I could.
This is getting into dangerous territories because I don't know how much you guys have seen the theme of betrayal and how deep it's gone into One Piece. Okay, let's think about it. The first ever, so in East Blue, we had the whole theme of oh my god, I forgot his name, the cat guy. I'm embarrassed because he's actually one of my favorite villains. Kuro, yeah.
Kuro,
and yeah,
it's cool. He's forgettable. Sorry.
Whoa.
Kuro was like, I would say Kuro was the best villain in East Blue, but that's just me though. That's just my Usopp bias. But if you guys notice, every single major arc in storyline has some sort of betrayal theme, or at least most of them, right? So if Kuro, we have Usopp. We have everybody thinking that Usopp is lying. And but Kuro's actually deceiving the princess, or she's actually deceiving Usopp's girlfriend. And the whole thing is that Kuro was betraying the whole island or betraying her. Then we have Nami in the next arc, who somehow betrays Luffy. In that same arc, we have the Marine that betrays Arlong by not really holding up their end of the argument. Then we have Arlong betraying Nami by not holding up their end of the argument. Now it gets deeper and deeper. Then we go to Alabasta, where Robin betrays Crocodile, right? And even after that, we go to Enies Lobby, where Usopp, we can say, kind of betrays the Straw Hats in a way, and Robin, who also betrays the Straw Hats in another way. And it goes even deeper. Then we get the Marineford War, where Squad betrays Whitebeard. And if you think about, let's go to Wano, where there was a traitor in one side of the army. There was a traitor in Wano's side, which is Denjiro. And then there was a traitor in the actual in the actual Scabbard side. So two traitors in one arc, right? And then it goes even deeper in Egghead. We have like a quadruple traitor situation. We got York that betrays the people at Egghead.
Everyone.
And again, we have this weird betrayal theme with Kizaru, if you guys have noticed it at all. Kizaru's acting a little sus, like he really isn't on the side of he's really not on the side of Saturn. So have you guys noticed how much Oda has emphasized betrayal in the whole story, which all ties back to the idea
Stussy.
that yeah, exactly, and Stussy as well. So it kind of all ties back to him kind of pinning at, hey, maybe in the ancient history, in the ancient kingdom, betrayal was one of the biggest themes.
Yeah, I really like that, especially with betrayal being what we kind of kick off the final saga with in Egghead, is like the whole whodunit. And like I was gonna spit about the whole ancient kingdom stuff real quick, is like, you know, like the saying, like the greatest trick the devil ever pulled is, you know, convincing the world that they don't exist. And like you were saying, like that whole string pulling, like if somebody were to like, or if some like series of events were to orchestrate a whole bunch of these people going against each other, and like it's really like reminiscent of a lot of other mythologies and folklores and even other anime that have been really popular, like within the big three, like with Naruto specifically, and like a few others, but I don't want to like spoil people. Naruto's been out for forever now, everyone should know about that. But there's like it reminds me, and it's us seeing god fruits now, it reminds me of in Greek mythology how there were things that were specifically combating the gods. These things were so powerful that they had to be sealed away, and it was the Titans that were sealed into Tartarus. And if specifically god fruits exist, is there like some sort of Titan like power as well? And if it was sealed away,
I like that.
If like what if there was like someone who bargained, or somebody who like broke a seal with some other type of power, or like, but like this is something I've been kind of trying to cook up for years now, since before I was even all the way caught up. And Egghead is kind of only like really stoked my flames on it. Like since I did get caught up and we've entered into Egghead, is what if there is like some sort of Titan like power that was once present in this world? And like I said, because I'm on the vibe of like a great calamity and even like an ice age and things like that, but what if something had set this great power free, and somebody was taking advantage? And you know, Straw Hat Lucas has also cooked up like some crazy thoughts on this as well. Unfortunately, he's watching his babies right now, so he could not be here with us on the stream today, but I know he would spit for a long time on this as well. But I love the thought, like the whole line of thinking that we're on right now, and the whole deception and betrayal. That's huge. That's like, I think that like, especially like with it being literally at the forefront of this arc, which marks the final saga. I think it's absolutely something to pay attention to. Go ahead, Den. Sorry.
No, it's funny. Like the way you explained it, it's like, it makes me think like Noe Noda, the last arc will be like a huge whodunit. It'd be like a game show, like who in the ancient kingdom was the betrayer. But yeah, I think the betrayal stuff is legit. Personally, I also think that ties into a wedding. In 1104, we've just got another wedding cover page, and Sanji's the one giving the cake. One of the mice is in black. The other mice is one of the mice is in black. The other mouse is in white. And we have some interesting stuff in the background, and I do think that connects to the pudding, Sanji, the wedding, the Soul King laying in bed with the Soul Queen, which we saw in Whole Cake with Brooke and Big Mom. And yeah, I think it's super spicy and interesting.
There's something actually, you guys may, you know, sometimes I like those talks because it just made me think of something I never thought of. You guys are heavily talking about betrayal, right? And marriage, you know, relationship, right? And how it affects the world affair. Which story, in terms of story, like terms of myth or fiction or non-fiction, which group of people are most known for those themes? Greek gods. That's basically the why their downfall. They used to betray each other and cheat on their wives with your brother and sister. That's basically their whole story. That's literally why their downfall, which ended with, I think, Zeus opening Pandora's box because he was sick of it, which basically ended all of them. So it's very interesting, you know, which, you know, what Pandora's box is, this one box, if you open it, it releases what? All the evil in this world.
You know, do you guys think that?
What if Pandora's box is the One Piece?
What was that?
Imagine that, like, that's mad.
What if Pandora's box is the One Piece?
Something similar to it, I could see it being that, like, I don't know why they would have laughed at that specifically, but we did also have a character literally named Pandora who is viewed by the giants to be a sun god.
Ooh, interesting.
Like whenever we saw Mother
ultimately,
Caramel,
We're getting into
yeah.
we're getting into like we're getting into like the Luffy's One Piece territory then.
I don't know if I believe that, but
I think like it is metaphorically Pandora's box. I believe there's no doubt about that. Once they find the One Piece, that's it. The world, like once they've got there and they've done it, if they do it, then that's it. The world's changed. The world will be flipped back upside down. I imagine. Like so, I do think metaphorically.
So it's like
ultimate Pandora's
it's like an inversion. It's not like an actual, because in Pandora's box, it's opening the box releases all doubt and evil and demons into the world, whereas opening the One Piece would potentially quell doubts and release peace and prosperity into the world instead, potentially. So I see it as more of an inversion.
The hard symbol of the box is opening something that you can't. Once it comes out, you can't put it back in. Like light in a dark room, like or a secret or the truth. Like once it gets out, you can't put it back in the box. You know. But yeah, interesting, spicy.
Yeah,
it's been a banger, by the way.
It sounds dumb because I like to do that sometimes, you know. I just want to do like use the word Pandora, make it very One Piece like, and if you describe the 3 words, it's Pan-D-Aura. You've got the word aura in Pandora.
Oh my goodness.
yeah, I know this is a rabbit hole type of thing, but I thought it was nice to mention. But yeah, that's. You
just gave me a great idea for an NPC in D&D, actually, but never mind.
So listen. I like to make to a segue because Middleway, because Middleway this week dropped a fire theory about the connection between law and dragon, which I would like him to spit a bit on it. So I think it's a great talk. My head. Yeah. And,
I love a good law video. Law is my number 2 in the entire story, and I've heard some other theories about like what he's really, really on about. Pretty sure I'm the most on board with yours, Middleway. Not gonna lie, kudos, massive shout out. It's a really great video. I have it actually linked in the description if you guys want to check it out. Put it on your watch later. Woo! Peep it after the stream. It is great if you haven't seen it already. We're trying to get that to 3,000 likes, so absolutely check it out. But yeah, spit on it for a bit.
Wait, before he spits, I'm just gonna drop something because I did tell Seth to midway, and then he can go into and start spitting. This is one of my biggest headcanon with Law. I've always said that Law's plan, in which destroyed Kaido and the Flamingo's empire, which work with Sword and Revolution Army, I said, it's not Law. So that's why I like your point of view, because it's bigger than that. 2 other factions seems to be working well with it. Not only that, they're able to help each other out. They're not like interfering with one another. And you know, so yeah, that's why I really like it. But anyways, I'll let you spit. Always thought it was out of Law's plan.
So on that note, let me start the theory like this, right? What if I told you that Sword is just Dragon's faction in the Marines that he left behind when he was a Marine?
Interesting. Yeah, I've definitely had those thoughts since it was like, I think it was like 1090 something whenever we got the confirmation that he used to be a Marine. Yeah, I absolutely like that thought.
And the reason why I started this way is because I've also shout out to Randy Troy. He I think he popularized the idea that Law is a member of Sword.
Yeah.
Which I kind of agree with, but it got me thinking while I was doing it there. I'm like, but is that all? So when I'm trying to write a theory, I'm like, how far can I go through this? Like, is it possible that it's beyond a member of Sword, and what is Sword? And it just all came back to Dragon with me. Like, starting from the idea that we have Cypher Pole, which is the shield, right? The opposite of the shield and something that would take down the shield would be a sword, right? And thinking about why would Dragon leave the Marines behind, but not leave anything of his legacy? Because we got to understand, this was Garp's son. He most likely was already nominated to be an admiral. He most likely had his own captains and vice captains under him. What happened to those people? You get me? So I believe that Sword is actually just Dragon's squadron, and the reason why they're like that, they're not exactly Marines, but they're still fighting evil, is because Dragon was that type of Marine. He was a Marine that directly fought evil. He was not the type of Marine that was just trying to keep the world government's power as best as possible. Dragon was the type of Marines that actually was fighting pirates, right? So the theory goes like this. Law in general is not a pirate. He doesn't have pirate aspirations. He doesn't even have a pirate ship at all. The way he moves is completely unlike Law or unlike Luffy and unlike Kid. And I don't think it's accidental. I think that Law's mindset and how he moves gives us kind of like let's say an idea of how someone like Dragon would be. And I say this purposely because I know a lot of people have criticism for how Law is like very overly calculative, right? And lately people have been having a lot of criticism for Dragon being overly calculative and, for example, not going to attack Jenny. So I think that these two mindsets connect insofar that Dragon was the one that trained Law in his approach. He's very tactful. We don't know what's going on with him. We don't know his plans, but we know he has some, right? Now, that's just a surface level idea to relate Dragon to Law on a mindset level. But then when you go towards the fact that why was Law an honorary Straw Hat for about the whole of Post time skip? Have you guys ever thought about that? Like, sure, Law is an important character, but why would he choose himself to literally since Punk Hazard to Wano to help the Straw Hats that much? You can say that, yeah, he wants to just help the Straw Hats because of his own motivations, but what would those motivations be if you think about it? And to me, those motivations, I don't think that's necessarily the reason why he's helping Luffy. And I also know that his motivations are not combating with Luffy as well. Now think about it like this: what type of pirate wouldn't have combative motivations with Luffy, who wants to be the Pirate King? Sure, Law would help him every now and then, but let's say someone like Kid, he can align with Luffy, let's say for Rooftop, but he's not gonna go 3, 4, 5 arcs with Luffy. You get me?
Yeah, that's very like Kid's a very emotional, like high emotion character, whereas like what you're saying with Kid is with Law is fascinating. Like he is a surgeon, he's a doctor, and like he spent all that time with the Straw Hats, and like everyone else would have just been fighting and killing each other the whole time. So yeah, that's mad. Yeah, that's very interesting.
Go ahead.
There is a point I like to bring it up because I think it's very relevant. Law arrived upon Hazard around the same time Frankie met Kuma and left when Kuma left, which I've always said is very interesting, that the timeline is very weird. And Punk Hazard was Vegapunk's old laboratory of all places.
And when Law defeated Dressrosa, who was there? I mean, when Law was in Dressrosa, who was there? Sabo.
Sabo, exactly.
Right?
And Koala.
Isn't that very, very interesting?
Sorry, go ahead.
And Sabo, and I think Sabo and Law are kind of like the two, let's say, young protege of Monkey D. Dragon. I think Sabo would be more like the Zoro type character, the very front and center, the vanguard, while Law would be more like Sanji, which is more of the low-key character, the more calculative character, the character that's a bit more under the radar, right?
Yeah, Mr. Prince type shit.
Exactly, right? And then we go into white lead, right? So if you guys remember, the white lead disease was very similar to the blue scale disease, right? And it kind of wiped out Law's whole hometown. And I find that interesting that that disease is a main theme in the Revolutionary Army when it comes to Blue Scale, and the fact that Kuma, his whole mission was to cure Bonnie, right? Then the relation goes even deeper once we consider that this is a small detail in theory. I don't know, most people may know, but if you guys remember how Baltigo looked, when they were introducing Baltigo, they said that Baltigo, what was that?
It's a snowy country. It's supposed to be a place where it always snows, right?
Not even that it always snows. The terminology was just, it's all white. Like the rocks are white, like completely white. And they said it twice in the manga panel. They said it's a town in all white. It's in all white. That's what Burgess says. And then when you go back to Law's hometown, it was also seen as the all white city. And the reason that is because when they dig the white lead, it was used in many ways. It was used to create weapons. It was used to create statues. It was used to create the very buildings that they used was implemented in as white lead. The factories were on the island all over producing white lead. So that led to the whole island being mostly white, right? Now, the way I connect that and Baltigo is that I believe that Baltigo is another island that's stricken by the white lead disease. And the best criticism that I've heard towards that is that why would Dragon base his revolutionaries base on an island that has white lead? But we have to remember that white lead is not actually contagious. That was a whole ploy by the world government to convince people to wipe out the people of Law's hometown. White lead is not contagious at all. The only way you can get white lead is if you actually eat it, if you actually ingest it, if your spoon is made out of it, or you use it on your food for seasoning. They literally use this white lead for everything, right? So you can be on white lead and not excavate it and not eat it, and you'll be fine. That's the reason why I think Dragon was all fine, and the whole Revolutionary was all fine. But I connect those two things together to connect the Revolutionaries with diseases, and I connect diseases around Law's whole story. And we know that Saturn specifically was using Bonnie as experiments, which leads me to the idea that maybe the world government from forever have been using biological warfare against people from all time. So the Revolutionaries, part of the Revolutionaries' main themes connecting with diseases, connecting with the celestial dragons, all goes back to Law. So I believe at some point that Law actually connected with Monkey D. Dragon, insofar that they both understood what the government does in terms of use diseases against revolutionaries and against other people. And I think that Law aligns more so to the Rosinante, not Rosinante, Dofi's brother, right? I think he's more like Rosinante, yeah. I think he's more like Dofi's brother. If you guys remember, Dofi's brother was an undercover agent under Dofi, acting as if he's a pirate. I believe that Law is doing that very same thing. He's literally acting as if he's a pirate. And then we go back to the quiet fruit being very, very low-key and undercover-like. And the last move that Law uses against Big Mom was the quiet fruit, right? He's able to use that now. And I think that all goes back to Law having a very undercover-like nature. Now, I went through a process of elimination because I'm like, I don't think Law is a Marine. And I like the idea that he could be Sword, but then again, I think that Sword is just a faction of the Revolutionary Army. Then that all kind of funnels into the idea that Law was a revolutionary the whole time, which is the reason why he accompanied Luffy throughout the whole New World. It's because Dragon actually wanted him to accompany Luffy throughout the whole New World. And it's the same reason why he came to save Luffy. Why would Law go as far as putting himself in danger, right? Putting himself in danger just to save Luffy. We know Law is an opportunist, and he likely could be like, okay, I could just use Luffy, but you wouldn't put yourself in danger in the war with the strongest people, like of that generation, just to have an opportunist relationship with Luffy. I believe he has a very personal relationship with Luffy through the fact that Dragon has sanctioned him to protect Luffy. So yeah, that's the theory in a nutshell. If you guys want to,
I have something to add for you, actually. Someone that you should look into, because I never thought of Dragon. For me, is I believe someone else like met Law a few years ago, helped him, because the last thing that Corazon told him is that now that you've ate the fruit, you're gonna have to learn how to use it to cure yourself. Mm-hmm. And so in our world, the people that cured us were the plague doctors. The only there's only one faction actually that has those plague masks, and there's two styles of them: a more like science version, and there's one like the 1700s, bird-like. The only other two people who have shown to wear plague masks are what's his name? Karasu from the Revolution Army, and Lilith. And Lilith's mask, when she joined, that's a plague doctor mask. And if you think further than that, what does Vegapunk say? I've been waiting for Luffy for so long. So we don't know for how long Dragon had hopes for Luffy. We know Vegapunk for a while. And what is the first thing they said when they started Egghead with Rob Lucci and Kaku and Stussy? The reason why we have to go after Vegapunk is he's a type of person to help even his enemy when it comes to science. And that's the last thing Corazon said. You'll find someone you'll find a way to get it. I think, and I never thought of Dragon, but I think that what's called Vegapunk at one point. And I think that's the statement he said when Luffy asked him, so you cut your brain? He said, it's not as easy as you think. Think about this. If you would need to cut someone's brain, lost fruit would be the perfect fruit to be able to cut his brain out without severing any connection to it. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's why I feel like it's so. I never thought of Dragon, but it could be the RA, and we've seen it. Dragon sent Kuma to Vegapunk. It could be when Dragon first met him, he said, Ivankov Mickle Worker doesn't know how to do it. Let me send it to Vegapunk. He could have done the same thing. So I never thought of that. So yeah, Vegapunk could be a good candidate.
I'm disappointed I didn't think about that myself and include it in the theory. Yeah, because that's it.
I like your thoughts on that Sword could be tied to the Revolutionary Army, is because in the SBS when Oda clears it up, he because people were confused about what exactly Sword is. He mentioned that Sword is basically a group of individuals who have already turned in their resignation so they can act in ways that government operatives and Marines themselves could not normally act. And seeing the way that Sengoku and Roshinante and a few others have acted, and it's really interesting because we know that Dragon, like you said, was in fact a member of the Marines at one point, and he, in order to not be a Marine anymore, you would have to have turned in your resignation or defected in some form or another. And so it could be that, yeah, he could be acting against technically the actual powers of the world, but still with a little bit of the backing of a splinter faction of the Marines, but still opposing the world government in a sense. And even the thing that you said about a sword versus the shield and things like that, one might also think that they can work hand in hand in certain degrees. And if they were to, I think it's really interesting is if somebody were to want to paint him as the most heinous criminal on purpose, and it's a bit of a sleight of hand, it's a diversion in a sense. And this could all be something to orchestrate a much bigger plan. So I really do like the thought that Sword goes much deeper than, because it's still shrouded in so much mystery. You know what I mean? So that is really great.
Yeah, and also I like to bring up to people, because huge Revolutionary fan, and I've said this. If you look at how it's described the Revolution Army, the one group in the world of One Piece who are not targeted by the Revolution Army are the Marines. It's built in a way that it will not go directly to the Marines. So yeah, I do like that as well.
I mean,
That's
before we
fact,
started talking about this, we were talking about like the ancient kingdom, and like I was saying about the east and the west and the monkey and the dragon. Dragon used to work for the Marines, and now he doesn't, and now he's the head of the Revolutionary Army, and his name is Monkey D. Dragon. You know, like in my opinion, like he is the emperor. Like he is like the natural born heir, and he was working for the Marines and probably saw what was going on with O'Hara, potentially even like learned the truth about his lineage and stuff, and was like, good God, I gotta like get out of here before they realize who I am. But I love this idea about like who was working under him and stuff like that. As soon as we get off stream, I'm gonna be fucking like googling that like on the wiki, like wait, who is his potential underlings when he was in the Marines?
Yeah.
Like it's fascinating.
If you think about also, Dragon answers a question that I've. If you look at the Marines,
okay, you're back.
Yeah, sorry, I was gonna say, if you look at the Marines, the duo trio teams, right? They're really close in age. The only ones where there's a trio where someone is vastly much younger than the other two members is Aokiji. He's much younger. He's basically 7 years younger than no, he's 7 years younger than what's his name? Than Akainu, and 12 years younger than Kizaru. But interesting enough, Dragon is the same age as Akainu. Follows the same theme. So it could be that. And when we saw Aokiji, he was basically always with Garp. What if the admiral before Aokiji was Dragon and he was on always with Garp, which makes sense. It's his father. So I also feel like it's filling a void that always says doesn't make sense. It's the only of the trio. Aokiji is vastly much younger, which doesn't make sense.
I will go as far as saying that Aokiji was the vice captain, because you got to understand, Garp was never a vice captain.
Ooh.
Wait, so Garp, you got cut out.
No, I'm saying Garp was never a vice captain, so he can't exactly have Aokiji under him. As Aokiji is going up the ladder. Hello?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, we're listening. We're listening.
As Aokiji is going up the ladder, he wouldn't be able to be under Garp. He'd have to be under someone else. He would have to be under an admiral. And I believe that very same admiral was Monkey D. Dragon.
I don't know. So my thing is, if he was admiral level, how would people have like it's how would they have, because they don't call him Monkey D. Dragon either. Like the whole Monkey D thing is kept, like especially the D part is kept in, because like if there were ties for Garp and Dragon like that, I don't think that that's ever been apparent. Like they just know him as Dragon, the world's most heinous criminal. So like they don't advertise that he's like that he's Garp's son or that he's Luffy's dad. They don't advertise that any of them are the D clan. And specifically, if he were to be so prominent as to be an admiral at some point in time, I don't think the timelines might work out, but I don't think really that makes a whole lot of sense, because even at the O'Hara incident, like way back in the day, none of them were currently admirals, but Dragon would have been much younger than I think at that point. But the main pushback that I have on it is that if he were somebody who is so prolific and prominent in the Marines to a degree, and like admirals are basically like a household name in the world of One Piece across all of the blues and all across the Grand Line, Paradise, and New World and stuff like that. So if he were to be such a prolific figure, I think that it would be really crazy, and more people would be like, I think it'd be a bigger deal if he were to be like an admiral who then became the world's most heinous criminal through some means or another. So I think I do believe he was an officer rank, but I don't think he achieved any of the admiral rankings, like not rear ad. I think he got to captain, and that's probably as high as he got. I could be wrong. I could absolutely be wrong, but I think that
position like captain.
Possibly.
Here's the caveat. Here's the caveat I'd say. The thing that I feel like we're missing here is that Dragon himself is not just out here in the front lines and saying, hey, I'm Dragon, I'm Monkey D. Dragon, I'm the revolutionary. We have to understand the reason why in the story Oda puts an amazing emphasis to barely show us Dragon is because he's an operative behind the scenes and is rarely ever in the front lines. Even in the actual flashback, we've seen him, let's say, like overthrow Kuma's island, but besides that, we don't see Dragon actually being in the front lines. And he also does wear a very, very secretive cloak, even in his introduction. So, and we're kind of like overestimating the IQ of the One Piece citizens here, because people were surprised when people were surprised when they realized that Monkey D. Garp is Luffy's grandpa. They could have easily made that connection, as you say. They could have made that connection with Dragon. So I think Dragon is more secretive. It wouldn't be so obvious as like, hey, I've seen that guy's face while he's helping our revolution. Are you Admiral? I don't think it would be that simple.
No. Also, I'm gonna jump in.
Bring up.
Mhm.
Go on.
Yeah, I was just gonna say something very important.
Go on.
If you think about this, there are two things we know about Dragon. The moment Dragon's full name was mentioned in his lobby, even people said I never even heard Dragon's full name. And I've said this time and time again. If I'm not dying on the hill that he could have been Admiral, it would be interesting. It could be a thing that it's so damaging that they instead reversed everything. Don't forget, Marines have a Marine code, Borsalino, between them, but at the outside he's Kizaru. It could be a thing that he was so damaging. If, let's say, he reached Admiral, they did some damage control. Because we also seen with God Valley, they never erased the storyline. We saw Morgan wrote a fluff story just on Garp. It just became a story among other stories. That's why God Valley was forgotten. They didn't erase anything. It's just the way they wrote it made it was so people would forget about it. So it could also be something like that. They made some damage control with his name.
Yeah, just to tack on what Middleware was saying as well a second ago before we move on. Like, excuse me. I believe isn't like the legit translation like I was working with the Marines. It's like it's worded like really ambiguously, like so maybe he was an undercover for the under them or something. I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised if he did. Right, what I'd say is I wouldn't be surprised if he did keep his anonymity. Like I think that's possible in the One Piece world, but to like I would lean towards Vex's point personally. I think the readership would be like, what? Like Dragon was an admiral, like, and like we're just not going to bring that up like until now. I mean, I think there might be a caveat to it, like you say.
Perhaps he was actually a CP0 agent. Was that possible?
Yeah, wild. that could be something, because CP0 is like something that is actually publicly known, but like all the rest of the Cypher Pol agencies are hidden, especially the most secretive of them all is CP9. I also think that it could be interesting. What I think the Will of Dreams brought it up. Is we did just learn of the internal affairs office, like specifically like with Kuro Umo, Black Horse. And so there's like Marines, there's world government people that investigate other Marines and other so it's really interesting to think that there's actually so many different like avenues in which he could have been, but the more and more we kind of like look into those like more secretive outlets, the less I think it could be an admiral, you know what I mean? But I think someone important, absolutely, somebody prolific, somebody who would have gotten knowledge of the God's Knights at the very least. So that's why I'm thinking he would have been like at least officer level. So that's why I'm saying like captain, maybe not lieutenant, but like as high as like captain or commander. But I don't know if it would have been like him climbing to that level of renown, as a world government affiliate. But specifically as like
I mean the God's Knights have never been brought up before, and they're not secret apparently. We saw them at God Valley, like people cheering them on and stuff, unless only nobles know about them. But,
yeah, it could be that only nobles know about them, but the only time that we've ever seen anybody who isn't a noble bring them up at all was Dragon. Literally the only person.
I like to bring up something, and I always said it because that was what I was confused. I said either Dragon. I was gonna. Well, that's what I'm going with. I've always felt like I was always with two sides of Dragon. Either he's a former king, or he was a marine. And the why is the first time he was mentioned in the flashback was at the reverie, and the king in question, he says, "You know exactly how damaging his ideology is," and he said it among kings. And I thought it very relevant that this is the first time we get someone in a flashback talk about the Ninja Dragon. It was king among kings. So now I'm wondering, imagine if he wasn't going to a cyberport. Like, let's say he reached captain or maybe rear admiral. He didn't go that high in the ranks, as most people would think. What if his whole thing is he was more connected to the king? He was a marine that worked with the king, was always at the reverie, saw the decision making, and saw how they would, compromise all the time, Because we've seen it with Garp. Garp was a personal escort of Neptune. And he's the one who even mentioned, "Oh, it's so sad what's happened to people of Alabasta." Garp is showing that he has connection to those kings and to the people. Like, he feels close to them. What if Dragon the same way? He didn't go the political aspect. He went the people aspect. He went through the kings.
I think the possibilities are endless for sure. But he was definitely somebody important because he's Dragon. I think Dragon is big. I personally think Dragon is. We get into agenda or power scaling, but I personally think that Dragon is the strongest person in the world outside of the Gorosei and Emo. But I think he had to be important to some degree. But we know.
Is it possible that he was in Kong's position?
What was that?
Is it possible he was in Kong's position? Do you think?
No.
Kong
is over
There's
Sengoku.
no
It's a position
way.
even strong. Yeah, it's a position higher than Fleet Admiral.
You don't think he could be a connection between nobility and the Marines?
What was that?
The thing is, the way Kong, at least if you look at the wiki, his position is higher than a Fleet Admiral. That's the thing that bothers me with it. Like, he could be a leeway for sure position because Kong's position is very high.
Yeah, I think and
like Supreme Commander.
You have to be older to be in that position too.
Yeah.
But I definitely think he was something important. We can never really know, but he was something important, and I'm sure he just stopped climbing. The highest he may have gotten is maybe vice captain, or if he was in, a CP0 or anything like that. But I don't think he was as simple as like captain, because he would need some type of extra access and information to know all about these things, like all about the
But we have to think about it, because specifically we know that so the Ohara incident was 22 years ago. And by the Ohara incident, he was already not world government affiliated. And so if we look at like how old Dragon is, like, which I'm pulling it up right now. I don't remember it off the top of my head.
17 Ohara, right?
55. God Valley, 17 years old. 55. He was born 57 years ago.
So he was 30. He was like 33 at Ohara, and so like at 33
and 33.
Yeah, but so specifically at the age of like before the age of 33, if this man were to reach admiral like status or something like that, I think that's a little bit like I don't know. I don't see it, but maybe
we can't do that because Luffy is 19. He's Yonko level. We can't do that.
No, but it's different with the Marines. The Marines is like a completely different thing than the Yonkos. Like, so you can't just punch out a vice admiral and become a vice admiral. You know what I mean? It's a different like ladder to climb up.
I think the stronger you are, though, the more you get. And we got to add the aspect that he's the son of Garp, the hero. So first, he has the political aspect to rise up very, very quickly. And if he's anything like Garp and he's anything like Luffy at 19 right now. There's nobody that's at Luffy's level that's below anything than an admiral in the Marines. If he was anywhere near where Luffy is right now, on pure power and the politics of being Garp's son, he would at least be recommended to admiral at that age.
And I would jump real quick. Hold on, Kube. You can cook after this. I just want to point this out. Y'all are saying that tenure is the most important thing. Look at Kube and his rank. That debunks all of what y'all been talking about. He's been in the Marines for 2 years, and he's a rear.
Yeah.
And also
True.
think about this: Fujitora Green Bull were not brought. To
No, I know
traditional
it's
thing.
not. I know you don't have
Oh
to.
shit!
No, I get that, but at the same time, like, you have to also look at Akainu, who is the exact same age as Dragon, and who would have been ridiculous. Like, we can assume also extremely powerful, and was literally at Ohara, and we got confirmation that he is like a vice admiral. So I'm saying he could be vice admiral level. I don't believe he's admiral level. Like,
I mean, dude,
Admiral, I can
like
see it.
Garp
Admiral, I
did
can
say
see it for
Kobe
sure.
was the hero of the Marines, and Garp's son is Dragon. Like, kind of, you know, kind of like a. We have a lot of that in One Piece, like this surrogate
Nepotism.
son, surrogate fathers. Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
nepotism,
sorry,
but like
wrong one.
not going. No, nepotism, but not going through the direct child. Instead, it goes to like the chosen child, like which is very much like Kobe. Like, in other words, Dragon didn't succeed in what Garp would have wanted him to be, but Kobe could fulfill that. If that makes sense.
Honestly, the one thing I could see with Dragon, because I do agree the Admiral thing is big. I could actually, because there's something very interesting is, think about that. They wanted a Kainu after Sengoku offered Aokiji. There was something about Aokiji that triggered them that they wanted for sure a Kainu who was exactly the same age as Dragon. What if all those years ago, Dragon was in the talks? Maybe he met the Gorosei.
For sure.
And in that talk, Dragon revealed something that angered the Gorosei, because he said he looked on every path for justice. What he went to the point that, imagine he even had a talk with a Gorosei, in which they thought they got it handled, and that's when he decided him to betray the world government, you know, to leave the Marines. It could be that he was in the talks, but I would agree. I think he was vice admirals, and it could be that at the time they wanted maybe someone like Dragon, thinking that would work. And then they realized, no, we can't make him. Because I do agree, I don't think he became admiral, but I think he could have been on the verge at one point in the talks.
Admiral candidate for sure. Admiral candidate. I think he's there. I think it makes sense. I think admiral candidate, the vice captain areas, but definitely nothing below captain. I think for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And we know that the world government works on nepotism through Cypherpole. Like,
Yeah.
we can gather that much. Like,
that is
so
true because of
it's-
Khalifa.
I personally completely buy, yeah, Kuchiku, loads of them, Cypherpole. But yeah, I completely buy the idea that. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I'm pretty sold on that. Like, maybe not that particular position, maybe it's a different position or a position we don't know of at the moment, but the idea of Dragon being a big Chad of the Marines is completely possible, because he's like a chosen one. Like, he's got the lineage, he's got, you know.
He's also the only Monkey D who's in his prime. Think about that. Luffy is before his prime and Garp is past his prime.
That's true.
But
On that note, actually.
Yeah, go ahead.
On that note, what do you guys think is going to be Dragon's next move?
I mean, we saw them like kind of heading out, like whenever he was like, there's only one place Kuma could have gone and stuff like that. Like, I'm pretty sure because he was just on the phone with Shaka before all of this went down, he is somewhat tapped into the situation. I don't think he's actually going to show up in Egghead while we are there. I think he attempts to, or like something like that. And like, he is, I think they are leaving Paradise because that's where the Kamabaka Queendom is Paradise on the other side of the red line, and they are entering into the new world. As far as where he actually like makes a move, I don't know. I think that like I feel like with the Revolutionary Army, like their first big move is going to be one of the final moves. So I think it'll be like Marie-Joie, or they'll bring like Marie-Joie, like the forces from Marie-Joie back down to them or something like that. Try to like I don't know. But he did say that the real game starts when the God Knights are deployed. So wherever the God Knights end up, that's where I think we're gonna see like Dragon's main forces. But I think that Oda's going to hold off on it as long as he possibly can.
I think Grand Fleet turns up to Egghead, and then everyone's like, the reader's like, oh, is Dragon going to be on there? And then like the end of the chapter, we see a cutaway to somewhere else, and Dragon's going to be there in the background in the shadows, like about to kill someone or do something super spicy, because I don't think he's going to last much longer personally in the story.
A lot of people are thinking that, you know, Dragon is just being like inert and that he is always like steps behind and things like. No, this dude is like 10 steps ahead of like pretty much everybody else. Like even beyond like Blackbeard levels of like scheming and things like that. This person is only gonna actually like really put all of his pieces into the board when it like onto the board when it's actually time for a checkmate. Like this is the kind of like setup, and I trust Oda to be able to pay off on it. Like there's a lot of like people who want to like put him on fraud watch and slander this man and stuff like that. This man is gonna blow y'all's expectations out of the water. Like I'm saying it right now.
I believe it.
Honestly,
I believe it.
Honestly, I think he already did his first move, and you know, and I think and Oda showed it to us. I think the mission to get Kuma was a double plan. Think about this. What do we know about Impel Down? Morty 100 years ago, almost 100 years ago, create underground tunnels that they can still use. I've said this. What if Morty's secondary mission was to prepare other tunnels? Because they went up to Marijoa with Morty's tunnels. What if they already prepared the breadcrumbs of, you know, the passageways underneath, you know? Because if they know the pathways of all the tunnels, because you've seen one in Marineford, maybe they're the same thing at Red Line. What if, when they came with that first time, Morty created new passageways? Part of Morty's job was to create that. And while everyone was up, Morty was always on the ground.
So I wonder,
You know?
do you think Dragon is going to use those pathways in the future to attack Marijoa? Or he
I think
himself
he has
is
to
gonna
infiltrate.
use it?
To
I
infiltrate,
think that
it would make so much sense.
I don't think it's to infiltrate. I think it's to free the slaves.
Oh yeah.
He's not so foolish to infiltrate them on their terms. I think the thing that he would really do is to remove all of the chips from play there and force them out of their comfort zone so that he can fight them on more familiar terms for his own troops. That's my thing, is if I were somebody who's like as galaxy brain as I'm hopefully assuming that Dragon is, and I know that Oda is, I would not fight them on their own front yard. I would like absolutely force them out, smoke them out. They're already starving them. Like people forget about that, but they are literally all they can do is eat cake right now. They are completely being smoked out right now. The only way that they're going to be able to like continue to survive is to step down off of their ivory tower and come down to the blue sea and get it themselves, because they're completely being cut off on every single angle as far as what they can get for resources. The only other thing that they have at their disposal is manpower. And so if they were to orchestrate all of these like tunnels and things like that, what would the smartest thing be? It's not to infiltrate them, it's to liberate all of the slaves, which they've been doing for over 2 decades now. They were literally originally called the Freedom Fighters. So I think that that's like, otherwise why starve them out if you're just going to invade them? No, you want that's a technique to get them out of there.
Yeah,
it's probably worth pointing out that like the tunnels would probably like weaken the foundations under Marijoa as well. That might be something worth bearing to think about. Also, if Luffy's going to destroy it and cut the red lines. Sorry, Kube.
No, sorry. I was just to add on what V just said. What if? It's very interesting, but it could be what his statement about the God Knights. When the God Knights make a move, that's where it changes. What if they're going to take that advantage that they have, use against them? It's when the God Knights will leave their post, like they will go to the sea, you know, because of all the food, like what Vex is talking about. That's when they're going to go in to get at the sea, because it's true. Like if the God Knights are that powerful, maybe they're the ones handling most of the slave stuff with the Cecil Dragon, and you would need at least them out, you know, to be able to get the slaves.
Yeah.
And, you think of that, you know. Maybe
but there was literally, and this was one of the most impactful scenes I'd ever seen in the anime, was whenever we see them arriving for the reverie and they're just like, oh wow, this is such crazy cool technology. They have like an assembly line like type of like this sidewalk moves itself. This road, like we don't even have to walk. And then it zooms down and you get to see that it's not technology, it's literally slaves carrying, like their entire foundation is built on like these tortured individuals and things like that. The revolutionaries would not be the revolutionaries that we know them as if they were to just let those people stay there. So I think that's absolutely it. They're trying to mobilize the God's Knights for one to get the forces away from Marie-Joie, and then they can get the slaves out of there without really fear of anything except for the Gorosei themselves, potentially. But like, I mean, I don't know if Dragon knows exactly how powerful Emu or the Gorosei are, specifically because of like the shock that he had. He didn't even know of Emu's existence because of like Sabo, like, you know, telling him like, I saw someone sitting on the empty throat, and his expression and things like that. So he's just now figuring out that there are more pieces on the board than he's thinking. I think he's going to take time to calculate and adequately adjust plans so that they can, you know, I don't think that they would be like the kind to invade. They're the kind to try to pull them down. That's the whole reason for the starvation.
I think the only people, I agree. I think the only people, it could work both ways, but I think the only people that ever actually are going to have a successful invasion on Marie-Joie are the Straw Hat crew. That's, yeah, that, so yeah, I kind of agree with that. I'm pretty sure the tunnels will be relevant in both freeing and attacking when that time comes as well. So and I'm sure it's not just going to be the Straw Hats. I'm sure it's going to be the Revolutionary Army as well. I personally don't think that the Straw Hats will reach the top of the red line. I think if they go to the red line, it's internally, like potentially like involving the Sun Tree Eve. And that could be like a parallel to the whole Giant Jack thing. And we do know that there's a prophecy that apparently Luffy's the reason. But I don't think he does that from atop the red line. I think that the entire Marie-Joie situation is something that Luffy specifically probably doesn't actually give a shit about. That's a dragon fight, I think. And I think it's smarter for him to pull them down. And so there wouldn't even be anybody up there in the first place. I think that it would be more interesting if the Quake fruit, you know, which we know Blackbeard has, and Luffy, who can rubberize things and whatnot. Like, I think that would be something that could, from the inside of the red line, be what actually does the destruction of Fishman Island. But I don't know if I believe that the Straw Hats are actually going to Marie-Joie.
Just before we move on to like the breaking of the red line, just to touch on what you were saying a second ago, like I do think like what Vex is saying with the Celestials being so reliant and dependent, I think it is ultra important, because on a more specific point, I think it's going to be really shown explicitly that the Celestial Dragons rely on slaves, but they themselves are probably slaves. They are probably the cattle of Emu that's being experimented on, and ultimately are like being lied to, and that's how we might humanize them or something like that. But yeah, I do see this siege getting really bad for them, and they're being a predicament whether or not the revolutionary is going to save them or not, which is kind of echoing what we saw in the South Blue situation, where they were pretty brutal. But yeah.
There is something, because I do want to go further on what Vex said before the red line, and it's something with everything we've just talked about, and it just came to my mind with the revolutionary, with the law things, you know, with Dragon, all of it that connects to it, and it's, you know, and we know that people like to compare Akainu and Dragon, they're the same age, opposing one another, you know, those kind of stuff. He kept calling Luffy's Dragon's son. Could there be a hint that maybe Fujitora might be connected to revolutionaries? If you think about it, he's the one who attracted the most of law in Dressrosa, all the stuff, and in the Reverie, he was the one with the revolution doing their thing. He was the one letting the slave escape.
Yeah,
and he was the one in Dressrosa acting like he was actually trying to fight Sabo, when they're probably both revolutionaries.
Yeah.
I buy into it. I'm not sure if he is a revolutionary or if he has revolutionary ideals, but they're definitely connected in some way. Like,
yeah,
I go as far as saying that Dragon has already planted one admiral in the Marine already.
Yeah.
I do think it will be Fuji that, like, I personally, we've spoken about this before on other streams, like I think Kuzan will go to Fuji, and Fuji will like tell him about his justice and inspire Fujitora to then go on and be something else, and then Fujitora dies. Like, and then that leads Kuzan to lead sword or something. But that's a whole nother Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to shit on the partially sighted Vex, but that wasn't-
Bro, oh my goodness. No, so the thing is like with Fujitora specifically, I think that he is somebody who is like revolutionary coded, absolutely, but I think he's just a completely solo entity that, because you got to understand, like whoever this person was, but like without having any marine involvement whatsoever, he was powerful enough to be brought in at admiral level above several other admiral candidates. And the thing is that they said they initiated a draft. If they initiated a draft, they would probably vet their candidates that they were bringing in at least a little bit, right? And somebody who had any ties to the freedom fighters at any point in their career probably wouldn't have been brought in on the draft. Like, that's just my take on it. Like, I think that he is an individual entity who has his own ulterior motives that are, we know that a big bit of his driving force from Dressrosa was that he did not agree with the warlord system. And he was the first person who mentioned SSG. So I think it would be more interesting, in my opinion, if he was like tied to Vegapunk, who I'm not like, Vegapunk again is just kind of his own guy who can be revolutionary coded without actually being a revolutionary. You know what I mean? In certain senses. But where Vegapunk is more morally gray on certain things, and he would aid his enemy if it were for science and things like that. I think that we get the flip side of that with Fujitora. And it's funny because Vegapunk's a guy with no brain who's better at thinking and processing than anybody else, and Fujitora is a guy with no eyesight who can technically see better than anybody else that we've seen in the verse. So I think there's a lot of parallels between those two, and I would love to see that he was very Vegapunk related, which can be tertiarily like kind of, you know, it's like pseudo legendary, or pseudo revolutionary. It's not like an actual revolutionary though, you know what I mean?
I get you. Yeah, I get you. I think that Fujitora, I think he's more close. Okay. Have you guys ever heard, I don't know if I saw this somewhere or I thought of this myself. Have you guys ever heard of the Fujitora Akainu brother connections?
Oh, that'd be weird. I can kind of see a resemblance, but I haven't heard anything about it now. So
the idea goes that Fuji is named after Mount Fuji, which is a dormant volcano. Akainu is the actual volcano. Akainu and Fuji bicker, like, for example, if they were Zoro and Sanji. We don't see any of the admirals question the fleet admiral all that much. And it seems like Akainu and Fuji have more of like a brother relationship in that way. I think that something happened to both Akainu and Fuji, and they were at least from the same island, or they're at least siblings or from the same island. And I think that Akainu went one way in terms of what happened to that island was probably very, you know, pirates doing crazy stuff. He went one way in saying, okay, I've experienced pirating doing crazy stuff. I'm going to do absolute justice. I'm going to be the very active volcano. While Fujitora was like, hey, I just experienced pirate doing stuff. I'm going to go the opposite way in my morality. And he's more of the passive volcano. So I don't think Fujitora is revolutionary because it's a little bit too on the nose. I do rather it being the fact that Fuji has a connection with Akainu, or Fuji has a connection with somebody over there, and he's generally just a very, very kind and, might I say, a real Marine. And he's not the person that I think Dragon has planted in the Admiral position anyways. I think it's Green Bull.
Oh. That's interesting.
Yeah, my whole thing of Fujitora, and I would do thing, I do feel like, yeah, I don't know, not see him being a plan or those kind of stuff, but I could see basically he's a middle ground between the worldview of Akainu and Dragon.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like he's the rope being pulled from, they're pulling on a rope, you know, it's, you know, it's tag rope, you know, that thing where you're, they're pulling each side, and basically Fujitora is the rope itself. He's the middle part.
I see it right in the middle.
Yeah.
So
Right in the
it's
middle.
really interesting when you think about it as well, is because as far as the naming scheme of admirals, and this has been brought up by a few people, but we have Ki Zaru, and that's like yellow monkey, and Aokiji, which is like the blue pheasant, and Aka Inu, which is the red dog, and then we have even Ryokugyu, which is like the green bull, and then Fujitora. It doesn't literally translate to purple tiger. It actually literally translates to wisteria tiger, and wisteria is like in Japanese folklore like a flower that is meant to ward away demons. So I think that's really also interesting, is he's the only admiral to not have a confirmed logia, and the only admiral to not technically perfectly fit with the naming scheme of the other admirals, as far as like a color. And I mean, it does loosely mean like purple, but it's like it directly translates to wisteria tiger, not purple tiger.
On that note, I heard someone say that Fujitora is more like a mix between dragon and Akainu. I think I actually go as far as saying that it's not dragon and Akainu, it's actually Aokiji and Akainu. I think that Fujitora is an Aokiji that's more sure of his justice. And I think that it's purposeful that he's a mix between Aokiji and Akainu, because Aokiji is blue and Akainu is red. And what do you get when you make the red and blue together? You get purple, ergo the purple tiger.
No, definitely.
And I think Oda definitely uses color to depict to say things about the admirals. Yellow is supposed to be like caution, wishy-washy. That's why Kizuru's going through whatever he's going through in Egghead. Red is supposed to be fire, very intimidating. That's how Akainu is. Blue is supposed to be more chill and laid back, like Aokiji.
There's also Miss Golden Week's color fake. If you fake the researcher review of Kizaru dating the Nika dat, interesting enough, Miss Golden Week's color yellow for laughter. If you look at the color scheme of Miss Golden Week, the 5 colors, they're very like black for betrayal. It's a lot of people have brought it up. Kanjuro uses dark ink. Blackbeard was shown always to wear dark colors. You have the same thing of what's the name of the other traitor? Oro. His black suit, I remember there was some short people bringing up the concept of black being betrayal is very relevant. So I do believe that that the color scheme in One Piece is very important, and I think Miss Golden Wings also is like it's foreshadowing a lot of the people's actions based on the colors. I think it's the color of their wills. But anyways,
so what do you guys think about green bins?
Yeah, I want to go deeper on your green bull thing, because I've always found very interesting. Fujitora is the only one who doesn't have a logia, and I always thought that what if green bull was basically the one candidate that Akainu couldn't refuse. Because Akainu seems to be like, people say, oh, he's always he seems not to trust Green Bull, or saying, oh, don't do that. Like, there's something about Green Bull compared to Fujitora, and when Fujitora failed, right? When the instructor asked him what happened, he said that both Green Bull and Fujitora failed at keeping the slaves. But Jabra from CP0, what did he say? Green Bull called out Fujitora because he has let the slaves escape and he was pissed off. But I kind of wanted to, so I always felt like, what if Green Bull is the candidate that the Gorosei wanted? Fujitora is the one that he proposed. Basically non-negotiable. You got Fujitora if you take Green Bull. So I like the fact that you're saying that maybe Dragon is behind Green Bull as well.
Yeah, I think that Green Bull's very harsh facade, like he's supposed to be this very, very, I love celestial dragons and they're the gods of this world. I think that's a made-up facade. There's no admiral, even Akainu doesn't suck the Goroseis of the celestial dragons ass that much. Like, I think it's purposely an exaggerated, made-up caricature to make him seem like the most ideal admiral. But if you think about it, guys, what type of admiral goes into Wano and leaves it better off than it was before he came?
It's true, and it was also
the whole vegetation of Wano.
It was also directly against orders. Like he was just like, I don't care.
Exactly.
Yeah, like so that is also interesting.
And like
And, like,
Kizaru, he had this unnatural effect to go to Wado. Kizaru won also. Now we know it's most likely connected to Nika. Maybe they could be a hint because he even was on the way, and even I kind of like don't ward him off, don't do too much havoc. There
Well,
was
it's
something about him
even
that he wanted
it's
to go by
even
himself.
more it's even more connected to Nika potentially than that, because if you really think about it, like Green Bull stated that he hasn't eaten food in like 3 years, which means that he has been sustaining himself through photosynthesis. So he has been literally given nourishment and life by
From
the
the sun.
sun, by the light of the sun. So yeah, that's really crazy. I've never made all these connections. Like this is wrinkling my brain.
And the thing is, right? What type of bigot fasts for years?
Yeah, that's just like discipline. Like I don't know. That's crazy. That is crazy.
And what type of if he was truly a bigot, as he says, why would he be getting along with Fujitora, especially at the start? Why would Fujitora be drinking tea with somebody of that nature? Now, this goes even deeper, right? Do you guys remember what was Fujitora's representation of observation hockey in Dressrosa?
Yeah.
It was
I remember,
colors.
Yeah.
And he saw the true color of Luffy. That's why he was like, oh, I wanted to see your face. I believe that Fujitora knows the real personality of Green Bull because he can quite literally see his more green soul. Now it goes even deeper than that. Remember how I was trying to connect Dragon being an admiral? If Dragon was an admiral, what color would he have?
White.
White, yeah, most likely white with the color stuff.
He'd have the same color he has now. Green. He has a green cloak. We always see him with a dark green cloak.
Oh, that's interesting.
If Dragon
and the wind's color from Logtown was green. Yeah, as well.
If Dragon was an admiral, his color would be green. And green actually means more of like, new beginnings, enlightenment. It doesn't mean anything mostly negative that Green Bull himself portrays. So I think Green Bull is actually an insert of Dragon's command.
I can absolutely alley-oop this if you want. Like, I gotta just spit this. Like, basically, Green Bull has the tattoo. The tattoo is the two lovers' suicide, by the river Styx, right? By Death River. Green represent it kind of like, as you say, it's usually positive, like representative particularly of will, right? And in the bad side, it represents jealousy. Green Bull, I personally think, has something to do with Amazon Lily and the former princess, to do with that relationship. And I believe he was in a relationship triangle. Now, a lot of people, I've discussed this for hours now because I've been trying to debunk it because I hope it isn't true, but it looks like Dragon or something to do with Luffy's mum or something is connected to this former princess as well. So if Dragon, so the idea that we had come up with is that like a Dragon, Green Bull, and a woman were once in a love triangle. Now that would obviously fit absolutely perfectly, and it fits very well with.
And he'd be jealous,
as well.
Oh my god!
Yeah, well, that's crazy. And he'd be jealous, but ultimately they'd probably still be friends at the end of the day. That's very, very, very interesting. Yeah. So yeah, I think Green Bull is actually, and if you think about it, right? If that was Akainu instead of Green Bull in that position when Fujitora was trying to free the slaves, would his first intentions would be to free the slaves, or would it be to kill all the slaves? Would it be to fight Fujitora first, or would it be to kill all the slaves? Think about how easily Green Bull would be able to recapture the slaves with his dev food, even if he wanted to also stop Fujitora. He can quite literally just breed a whole bunch of grass that just grabs them, and he could even kill them if he wanted. I think that Green Bull used Fujitora as a distraction. Like he's like, oh my God, Vythor, you're trying to like free the slaves. I'm gonna fight you and I'm gonna let the slaves feel free. And another thing to add to that, we saw Green Bull literally defeat King and Queen at the same time, right? Albeit they were weak, but I believe even if they weren't weak, he'd be able to do the same thing, but it probably wouldn't be like as no diff as it was. How could you tell me someone that defeats King and Queen at the same time is struggling against Morley? Morley, guys.
I mean, Morley's like, her, but to also touch on the King and Queen thing is like, so this was confirmed a week plus or over. It was like just over a week after like the whole events of Onigashima and stuff like that. And we see Zoro, who had amplified injuries. He had gone through and became completely immobile and then had the mink medicine. And like it was said to be twofold the actual like, and he was fully recovered by then. So the argument that King and Queen were weakened is actually not really sound. I wouldn't say that they were weakened at that point. I think they would have had plenty of time to fully recover, especially if King is like a cyborg who's able to like replace and WD-40 up some of his parts and stuff like that. And a Lunarian is supposed to be genetically superior to humans. Like there's no way they were weak. Like
and their zone users. They heal faster, zone
yeah,
users.
so like I honestly think it's BS to say that they were even in a weakened state. He took on like basically
tough, so they didn't have their mythical Zoan recovery rate, but they do still have the time of recovery.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which gives more credence. Which gives more credence to the idea that he shouldn't have been struggling with the revolutionary commanders, especially not while Fujitora is there. I believe that he was also faking it. And we've seen a huge theme in the whole story of all of the admirals faking it for their own individual justices. We've seen Kizaru is kind of faking it right now. We've seen that Aokiji was definitely faking fighting his mentor. He didn't truly want to fight Garp. So I believe in this throughout this whole final saga, there's going to be a mass betrayal thing that happened with all of the admirals except Akainu. And I believe that Green Bull is gonna betray the world government through and this goes deeper into the theory because I try to go as far as I can to try to validate this. I also believe that the reason that he was in Wano was because he was actually warning the Wano citizens. And he was actually reviving their land for it to not be poisonous. I think that was his two missions, to actually revive the land.
Nope, I think you cut out.
You got cut out, bro. Wait, what? Yeah.
I think that's that. Oh, he's here.
Oh, sorry. I believe his first mission was to heal the land. His second vision was to warn people in Wano. And now he does this is actually interesting, but I'd like your thoughts on this. I believe that he did this by letting the people of Wano know that they will be subjects to attacks. I believe that he used himself as representation to tell the people of Wano, hey, the guys cannot, or tell Luffy or all of them, you guys cannot leave this island completely unprotected. Because people as powerful as me, they're going to be more serious than me, will easily be able to come here and just take you guys down.
It makes a lot of sense because specifically it was because of that Yamato had actually fully solidified to stay as a protector because Momo wouldn't be ready. And it was because of that Luffy had decided to leave a Jolly Roger behind and claim it as Yonko territory. And like it makes perfect sense, like the way that you put it. I actually really like that. I had never thought about that before. So this is like truly wrinkle in my brain. This is why we do this.
I'm just quickly, I'm gonna shoot off, but I'll be in chat listening. Middleweight, absolute pleasure. I'll let the boys close out and thank you properly. But anytime we want to do this, you just let us know. We'll cook.
Awesome.
Right, peace, boys. Have a good day.
Take it easy, bro. Everybody make sure you go check out Den Kushi's channel. It's linked in the description. He's had some crazy fire videos, getting some great reach on those. since the new year and a little bit before and things like that. But yeah, everybody, he's too modest to actually plug his stuff, but dude's channel is popping off right now. So everybody make sure you go check that out, as well as checking the link in the description once we do wrap up and catching Middleway's most recent theory that we've cooked on a little bit here. But definitely go leave a like on his video, because it's crazy good. And I have that linked in the description. Make sure if you're not already subscribed to this guy, I don't know what you're doing, but you're living under a rock, but make sure you show some love for the guest. And yeah, it's been crazy. We've been cooking, y'all.
Yeah. And there's something actually with the green ball, because I call myself the Parallel King, and I do believe Oda likes to give snippets. And I'm calling the queen, Buckins in Mads will be queen. Buckingham, queen, the names are there. They have the bob hairstyle with the hair. So I wanted to look in the Revolution Army, what you were saying with Green Bull. Like if he had some sort of it would be someone who would be designed similar. And when you were describing it, there's only one person that fits the bill. Sunglasses, open shirt, Bello Betty. And you think about it, I was thinking right now is her fruit. Green Bull regave life to nature and Wano, and she really gives lives to people to fight off. So it's like, just something like that I've been looking in. So that's also interesting. Considering the position she took over, whose position she took over in the Revolution Army, when you know that right now, Jenny's, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was like thinking that it could be a possible, if we're going that route, that there is actually someone in the Revolution Army that connects to Green Bull, and it's not Dragon. It could actually be someone like Bello Petty, you know, one of the commanders.
I definitely agree. I go as far as saying that the commanders that we see in the Revolutionary Army right now are actually pseudo sub-commanders to trick the world government. And I believe that the other mission of that attack on Marijoa was for Dragon to show his fake hand. Basically saying, hey, look at these people. These are my commanders. This guy is East Commander. This guy's West Commander. This is our. And I actually think that these commanders are not the actual real East, West, South, and North commanders. I believe that they're the vice captains of the true commanders, who I believe are 1, Law, 2, Green Bull. I'm on the fence about Aokiji. I'm very, very on the fence about Aokiji. But a very, very something that I have in the back of my mind is that the actual true fourth commander of the Revolutionary Army is Mihawk. But that's a whole nother can of worms. That's a whole other can of worms.
Crazy. Before we get too much into that, I just wanted to mention I do like that it's kind of Dragon showing his hand, but it's just as a diversion, because we do see that because of the results of what happened at Marijoa during the Reverie and things like that, the Sabo is entirely at the forefront of public attention, and that he's being revered as the true threat, as the Flame Emperor and things like that. And that could completely serve into Dragon's diversion tactics, and I firmly believe that is a thing. And then, like I said, I like your theory about Law, and I'm pretty convinced about the Green Bull thing. With Kuzan, it could make sense. I have no idea where you're going with this Mihawk thing, but I'd love to hear it.
Okay, it goes a little bit crazy deep. I have theories that connect to other theories, and they'll go down a really, really hard rabbit hole, because there's just this there's just this one theory that I came up with that's kind of like the mother, the Jaya to my other theories. And that theory basically suggests that since page 1, we haven't known who's who. Now, do you guys know those are the Toby Ropo names, right? Page 1, who's who?
Yeah, that's 2 of them.
Yeah.
I believe that the Toby Ropo names are actually hints towards the actual One Piece story. And I believe that that play on words, since page 1 we haven't known who's who, is actually a code to tell us that everything in the story is not exactly as it is. Basically, just about everybody's true allegiances is hidden in some level. Now, we could even validate this through Shanks meeting with the Gorosei. How many of you guys were like, what the heck was that? Why was a Yonko like Shanks, who's supposed to be Luffy's like guard and Luffy's mentor, is meeting with the demons of the world government as he's helping them? You know? So part of that theory that I discovered is that there's around every single organization in the world is a traitor of some sort that connects to, I think that, that connects to either the Revolutionary Army or another faction like the Underworld that's putting somebody inside there. And the Mihawk thing is just a factor of that. I think that Mihawk has completed his accomplishments in life as the world's greatest swordsman, but what is he doing now? I refuse to believe that he's just sitting in his castle all day, every day, not doing anything and just going around slashing East Blue pirates. And when you think about the idea that Kuma actually visited Mihawk's Island, that adds another layer. And why was Kuma so comfortable knowing that if he sent Zoro to Mihawk, Mihawk wouldn't kill Zoro? It also should be public that Mihawk did fight Zoro. So why would Kuma think that he could send literally Zoro to somebody that he knows Mihawk has fought before, and he knows and I'm proposing that he actually knows the true nature of Mihawk, right? And I believe that Mihawk is sort of a revolutionary, and it gets even deeper into a rabbit hole where I go into Mihawk is Boa's brother territories, and that the raid, Mihawk actually participated in the raid that Fisher Tiger led, freeing the fisherman people as well as Boa Hancock, because part of the reason why he was called Marine Hunter is because he was traveling the world trying to save his sister, who was Boa Hancock, who he knew that the Marines, ergo the Celestial Dragons, had hidden atop Mary Showa. It gets really crazy deep, but that's basically, it on the surface.
It's interesting because I have my own personal headcanon that I believe Big News Morgan, Shanks, and Dragon have contact with one another.
Oh, for sure. I'm in line with that, yeah.
So that logic, because also there's something interesting. Buggy doesn't seem to be close to Mihawk, but Mihawk is the only reason why Crocodile hasn't killed him. But he seems to be neutral towards Buggy. But we know he's close to Shanks, so that's why I feel like the Mihawk joining Crossgill, accepting it could be also Shanks telling him too.
Yeah, and I think all of those people are connected. Dragon, Shanks, Mihawk. And it's not exactly that Mihawk is a revolutionary itself. I believe that there's powerful figures that Dragon has allied with, and not exactly that they're under him, but they're actually his allies. I believe that Shanks is one of them. And I also believe that Mihawk is one of them. And I believe that it goes in...
Oh, you cut out a little bit.
Yeah, you got cut out. Yeah, Emo's put on the work right now.
I think your connection cut. You're still on the call, but we cannot hear you right now.
Reminds me of that guy once who was talking to me. He was in this city called this island called Lucia.
Okay, you're back.
Just
now.
got wiped out.
Yeah.
Oh, you're back.
You said, we heard up until you said, I don't even remember. I'm sorry, I was reading the chat. What was the last thing we heard? Just run it back like a minute.
Go ahead. What was that?
You cut out. We couldn't hear the finishing of your sentence. So run it back like 1 minute.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So basically, I go as far as saying that Mihawk was the first to actually defeat a Holy Knight, because in that raid to save his sister, who was Boa Hancock, he actually had to defeat a Holy Knight to save her. So that's You know, the theory gets pretty deep, but I think that Mihawk to some level is working with the revolutionaries in the fact that he also does want the downfall of the world government.
Interesting.
So yeah, I know that's a very heavy one. So I don't. That's a very heavy one, you know. But that's it in a nutshell. But that's probably one of my crazier theories.
Yeah, and again, to the thing about those different factions coming together, think of Dressrosa inside the birdcage. Everyone, royals, civilians, pirates, bounty hunters, pirates like Cavendish who hated Luffy, who started worker of Luffy. They all came together, you know. Don Xiaozhou had the rivalry with Garp, hated Luffy at the start, even said because of what Usopp did. The belief, and they even called God Usopp. So I do believe that there's this cross, which, you know, I'm a big believer Big News Morgan is in the middle of all of it. That's why people keep reading the newspaper and body pictures. And that would make sense. Yeah, man, that would make sense why they have this obsession of having this. Every time those people have epiphanies, they're either holding the bounty picture of Luffy or they're reading the newspaper. The same guy, Big News Morgan, is hyping up Luffy to a certain way. You know, so it's like I've said that Big News Morgan is the unsung hero. People are gonna be singing about him pretty soon.
Oh, he's very sung. Like a lot of people, like there's been so many. Like, I'm fully convinced that when it comes to influence, like obviously not. Like he did like basically one tap a Cypher Pole agent, but we don't know how strong that person was. But I think as far as influence goes, he is one of the absolute most powerful figures in the entire story.
Dude, I'm sorry. I love people bringing up feat to all those characters, fighting feats like that. Big News Morgan hacked a call with a Dugorose, and then was not even shy. He even signed his name on the call. Dude, dude has cojones.
Dude's insane.
Cojones.
Dude is insane. So that's one of my most anticipated. I don't know if we're gonna get a full backstory, but just him becoming more into the fold, like seeing him in Egghead when we did like during the Reverie takeaways. Like I guess it is a flashback because it happened like a month ago now. But seeing all of that stuff go down and seeing Big News Morgan's like on panels again, like I was ecstatic, bro. I cannot wait for that dude to come back into things. But guys, we have been going for a little over 3 hours now, so I was gonna maybe just ask you guys if there's any prolific figure just to close out, and we'll do conclusions shortly. But like if there's just like for me, it's Big News Morgan's. Like I cannot wait for him to be more in the spotlight. But is there anyone that you're looking forward to specifically middle way as like the most, like looking forward to the most as far as like all of these figures that we've been kind of talking about that are still shrouded in mystery? Who do you think is like who you're looking forward to the most?
Cheeky.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Did we just become best friends? Absolutely. Oh, that is such a good answer.
I'm one of the people that believe that Shiki is the Madara of One Piece.
Bruh.
Insofar that he's basically planning just about everything. He planned Blackbeard, the whole shebang. He's basically behind literally every ploy. I personally think that Strong World, I believe that the only non-canon thing about Strong World, because people don't understand, Oda's movies are not canon in the actual idea that the Straw Hats are there, but Oda's movies are canon in the fact that the figures that's in the movie are very canon people. We saw that with Uta, that was actually included in the chapters. Uta is a canon character. It's just the only thing that's not canon about the movie is the actual Straw Hats' involvement in the whole plot. Yeah, I believe that Shiki's 20-year plan is canon.
Well, it is because it was mentioned in chapter 0, and chapter 0 is 100% canon. Yeah, exactly. me and Kube are right there with you. We've spit so many times in VCs about how Oda will hide little canon bits in non-canon things like the movies, like the specials, like the video games, and like all these other things. Like we have cooked for hours on it in the past. So I'm right there with you. I'm a huge Shiki supporter. That is such a good answer. Kube, if you had one figure that's still shrouded in mystery, which one are you looking most forward to getting the reveal of?
So I'm not gonna go with the obvious. Obviously, my big news Morgan, but you took it. But on an unobvious one, and I think it could be pretty soon. The original Bucken. She's in both. She's in both groups of the Rocks and the Mads, and I'm telling you, there's a big chance that Luffy and the Straw Hat might get a flashback with the Mads and the Rocks through Bucken.
Yeah, that's interesting. And
this one.
I agree. And I know you've been on that Sphinx Island agenda. And I know that you, like, for me, I've been on the whole, like, I need more from Stussy. And so, like, yeah, like, I definitely love that as an answer as well. Excellent answer. And then, Josh, if you had one prolific figure that we still haven't gotten, like, them in the spotlight, who are you looking forward to the most in the final saga?
I think I'm gonna say the mare marked by flames.
Let's go.
And everyone should know that it's must deuce. Shout out to that.
Yeah, I like the masked deuce theory a lot. I like the more and more. I mean, there's a lot of ties that it could be Dragon or a few other individuals as well. But like, yeah, I think it's gonna be really interesting. I hope that reveal is massive, and I know that we'll probably be getting that in Elbath. I don't know if we're getting it in Egghead though, but really good answer. And yeah, that's definitely something that that's like what's standing in between us and the One Piece right now. So yeah, absolutely excited for that. And then Brother Dill, who's your one enigmatic figure that you can't wait to get into the fold?
So I was gonna say the man marked by flames, but that one got said. So I'm gonna say I can't wait till we get the actual origin and life story of Joy Boy.
Oh yeah, getting some Void Century flashbacking and things like that. Yeah. Excellent answers all around, guys. Yeah, that's so crazy. So we'll just make sure that for the last arc, I'll do a little bit of a spiel in a second, but Middleway, is there anything you want to tell the folks that are watching this now and in the future and things like that? Any sneak previews, any tidbits, any spoilers of what's to come or what you're cooking on right now?
For sure. Okay, so like I was saying, part of like a huge part of my theory is that the main basis behind them is that it's usually something shocking, because I believe that the final saga will be the start of the revelation of a lot of shocking things. I believe that Egghead incident is a revelation of a lot of shocking things. That's why we see Kizaru being wishy-washy. We see Aokiji being wishy-washy. We see that there's this whole secretive theme of Egghead where Oda really doesn't want to tell us anything. He leaves us in open-ended things. Like, for example, we never actually find out who the shadow trader is in the Egghead, if any of you guys remember. That was not York. We were talking about this the other day. we don't know what is going on with we don't know what's going on with that shadow. And the first theory that I've ever made, this is how I like to close it. The first theory that I've ever made on YouTube is the idea that Jinbei is a traitor.
Yeah, it's crazy. I haven't fully watched that one. I did my research, but I was looking at mostly all your Devil Fruit theories, and you've got some spice.
How I think. What was that?
I'm sorry, you cut off. I didn't know if you were still talking or not, but I was talking about the Jinbei traitor theory, because as soon as you brought that up, I think you cut out. But I haven't looked at that one entirely. I've mostly only looked at your Devil Fruit theories and then your most recent one that you posted like this week. But go ahead, sorry.
No, yeah, that's if anybody wants to check me out, I'd recommend that theory first. I love all my new theories, and my production has gotten better as well. But if you want, that's probably going to be the next theory that I make, a remake of that theory, which I think is going to be the cherry on the top of Egghead incident, is the fact that there's going to be a Straw Hat betrayal. But yeah, but that's it for me.
That's super spicy. That's really crazy. And then yeah, as far as like us here at the Last Arc, major shout out to the shipwright in the chat right now. We got Fritz the Ditz lurking in the chat. We love you. Major shout out to Den, the first mate, who has been cooking up his own theory videos and putting them out on his channel. Lots of spice there as well. He hit 3K not too long ago, and he's climbing pretty fast from there. And then we've got a lot of other crazy spice going on. Make sure you guys stay tapped in for Smokey's Alabasta Part 2 review coming out very, very soon. I'm super hyped for that. We've got Group 2 of One Piece D&D here in the TLA community returning this Tuesday. And you'll be able to see me, the DM, as well as we've got Dill here in the call, the first mate. I believe Group 2 solos. You know, I've heard that a few times. We've also got some other D&D groups. One of them actually just started streaming literally about 5 minutes ago on Diaregulus's channel. And they do that every Saturday. We've got some that are not streamed. If you wanted to hop in the Discord, you can sit in on some of the calls, like Group 6 on every other Sunday. And we've got Group 13 on Thursdays. It's a wonderful, like, blooming D&D community. We're getting into the One Piece TCG pretty heavy as well. I want to be getting back into that very, very soon. And yeah, lots of spice every Friday on Chadmirals. And this Wednesday, we have the Wizard of Oars, you know, being our guest, which is going to be absolutely insane. Been trying to get him on for a while now. So super hyped for that. And then on the first, on the 3rd of February, the 3rd of February, we've actually got an absolute legend in the community. We got BDA Law coming to the channel, so that's going to be absolutely hype as well. So make sure you guys are subscribed and you like the stream and you check out all the wonderful links in the description and you support our guest as well. Go check out his most recent theory and his first theory. And super hyped for like you said, that remake video. That's gonna be extra spicy. But it's been real.
Can't wait.
Yeah, and it's been fun, and we got to get you back on sometime soon, brother. But we're going to go ahead and end it to that.
Bro. Always, it's been fun.
Excellent. Yeah, so we're going to go ahead and edit that, and everybody in the chat, we love you. Thank you so much. We wouldn't be able to do what we do without you. And y'all have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. Happy New Year, and stay warm.